The sun is out. I see some blue skies, and the track is drying out at Pocono Raceway. We are expecting to go green a little bit later on this afternoon. And when we do see some action on the track, we'll get to spin it upstairs to Alan Bestwick, Dale Jarrett, and Andy Petrie. Why let us do all the work here in the pit studio? Stan, let's go. Get working.
I've been there, done that, Nicole, for sure. But you guys are doing a great job. We're having a lot of fun. We're just sitting here getting ready to race at Pocono, and my thoughts were drifting back to the Mattioli family, who built this racetrack and have run it since it was opened up back in 1968. And this being the first racing season here at Pocono after the passing of Doc Mattioli. Dr. Joseph Mattioli, pictured there on the right with his wife of 63 years, Dr. Rose, on the left. Really unique and interesting story, how a successful dentist from Philadelphia got tired of the dentist business. He invested in this group that wanted to build a racetrack in the Poconos and ended up being the majority investor and took over the project. They had some lean times opening a racetrack just as the fuel crisis hit back in the 1970s and the split between CART and USAC in the IndyCar series, which really was the big racing at the time. But it was NASCAR that built this racetrack into what it's become now. They had their first race in 1974, added a second in 1982, and rode the boom of the sport to popularity. Pocono Raceway, Doc's place, as Nicole said, and this the first season after Doc Mattioli passed away last January 26th after some illness. It was here 1 year ago when Doc held a press conference, a surprise press conference, surrounded by his grandchildren, and announced he was retiring and stepping down as the chief executive officer of the racetrack, turning over control of the racetrack to his grandchildren. And typical of Doc's somewhat direct humor, with his grandchildren sitting around, said, "I put it in a family trust. They're going to run the place or they're going to starve." And we remember Doc Mattioli as we come back to his racetrack here at Pocono this weekend. And, of course, his wife, Dr. Rose, also very much a part of the scene for so many years. This racetrack played a pivotal moment in your career. 1995, I'm specifically thinking of. You changed rides from a successful team you were with to a new team, and things weren't going as well as maybe some expected to. I'm speaking of when you left Joe Gibbs Racing and went to work for Robert Yates Racing. And you came to this race in that season, 1995, and won, and it changed a lot of things.
Yeah, that may be an understatement, the way that you said things weren't going the way they wanted. I stepped into this 28 car, and obviously had been very successful, and things hadn't been going as well. But this was a racetrack. From the first time that I saw it, in 1987 was my first opportunity to come here. I'd watched many races on TV and talked to a lot of the drivers about what a different track it was, and I was just so excited to be here. And then to win here in 1995 was just a huge thrill to me. But the Mattioli family is a family at that, and they treated all of us exactly like that. They always wanted to know. I think the thing that strikes me most is they were always wanting to know, what can we do for you and your family to make this a better experience? You know, yes, certainly, what can we do with the racetrack, how you're enjoying things, but it was more about the family aspect. And when my kids loved to come here, a lot of things to do around here, and the Mattiolis were always wanting to make sure that that experience was fun for them, for Kelly and the kids and everyone. So things that you'll always remember, but that win was huge in my career. It gave me the opportunity to go on and drive a second car for Robert Yates, and then a lot of good things happened from that point forward.
Yeah, you speak of family, and that's exactly what I think of when we come here. It's almost like you're coming into someone's home. That's the way they made you feel, and they wanted to make you feel welcome. I remember Dr. Rose, she had a baby shower for, there's a lot of the girls that were pregnant and expecting it about the same time. My wife Patty was pregnant with my daughter Johnny in 97, and she had this big, huge baby shower in the infield, and it's just something that makes you feel like part of the family. And I really love coming here for that reason, and the track just keeps getting better.
Dr. Joe and Dr. Rose's grandsons now run the racetrack. Brandon Igdalski, the CEO, made a trip through Charlotte this past winter to meet with race teams and ask those very questions. What can we do to make your trips to our racetrack better for you? And they feel the very same way about their fans. Their fans hoping to see 400 miles of racing today. We're watching the weather radar, and we're watching the track drying, as are the drivers and teams along pit road, and Dave Burns is down in that vicinity.
Now with part of the Hendrick Motorsports family, and that is Casey Kane. Casey, if they say Indy sets you up for Pocono, save for a little crinkled fender last week, are you guys set up here based on the speed last week?
We're similar, and Jimmy Johnson was the fastest car in Indy by a ways, so we've been able to look at that and see what they're up to. But I feel pretty confident about where we're at. We had a really good practice on Friday, qualified well. The track's going to be different now with no rubber on it, so the first few laps, you know, will definitely be slippery. especially for rear grip. But, after probably 5-6 laps, the car should come in, and hopefully we'll be in good shape.
You mentioned that the good starting spot outside row 2 for Casey today. Dr. Punch?
And we stand by with Clint Boyer. Clint, 10th in the point standings as you watch Chad Knaus come walking by. Great save last week at Indianapolis to be able to get a top 15 finish after having a damaged car early on. What about today? You're still in the chase with 6 races to go. What's the mindset?
Oh, good. Definitely was a huge bailout for us to be able to get a top 15 after a catastrophic day like that was huge. Said a lot about our team and how we worked together and got through a little adversity there. So very proud of their efforts. Got a good car for today with our 5-hour Energy Toyota. Looking forward to it. I mean, we're looking ahead. We're not looking behind us. I know we're 10th in points, but we're 10 points out of 6th place, so you've got to be focused on that and trying to get ahead of these guys. If we can't run with these guys at this point in the year, how are we going to do it in the chase? So really focused on just continuing to get better, but all the while top 10s. That's what got us to here, and that's what's going to get us on into the chase.
Starting 19th today, your crew chief well known for rolling the dice to try to get track position early. No tires, 2 tires. What do you do on that competition yellow?
Like you said, he's well known for rolling the dice. I don't play very good dice games, so I let that up to him. You never know what the weather's going to do. You're just going to have to keep an eye on the weather like they're going to do and make your decisions according to what you see on the map, unfortunately. I think we are going to get it underway. Hopefully we get it to some point in the race where we can get out of here.
Hey, thanks for your time. Good luck.
Thanks, guys.
Clint Boyer starting 19th today. Alan?
All right, Doc, talk more about Clint Boyer's situation in a second. First, a reminder that ESPN's coverage of Major League Baseball continues tonight and tomorrow. First tonight on baseball's biggest stage, Ryan Braun and the Brewers look to make up ground in the NL Central when they face Matt Holliday and the Cardinals at 8. Then tomorrow night, Derek Jeter and the AL East leading Yankees head to Comerica Park to take on Prince Fielder and the Tigers at 7. Sports Center to be seen in the New York market. Sunday Night Baseball presented by Taco Bell, and Monday Night Baseball presented by USAA.
It's almost as good as Brad did.
Almost. But I left out the DJ's Yankees mention there. Hey, you saw Clint Boyer, 55 points ahead of 11th place. That's a full race in the standings with 6 to go. Is he safe, or do they need to race a little carefully for these next 6 weeks?
Yeah, I don't know about carefully. I think they have to still be aggressive, but everybody thinks that that's safe because you see that big number. There are so many things coming up here. Here at Pocono, a lot of cars finish on the lead lap. We get to Watkins Glen next week. There's just too many variables there.
There is. The biggest thing that could hurt them is if their car lets them down. If they have a failure, they got to have great preparation. If they keep racing like they are, they're not going to have any problem at all staying in that top 10. But if they have a failure, that can knock you out really quick, and then you can be within a race.
And you heard Kyle Busch earlier talking about how far they were behind 10th. There you see Kyle 55 points behind Boyer. Can he race his way 55 points up and make the top 10 and not have to worry about that wild card?
I think he very well could do that because he can put together a string of top 5s that would gain a lot of points on the guys if they have any troubles at all. Plus, he's very capable of winning another race in these next 6.
Well, that's the thing. He's going to string together those top 5 finishes, and there are probably going to be some wins in there. So I don't think he's going to have to worry about those points.
Yeah, there's a lot of tension on a lot of these teams involved in the wild card and in that bubble area. Talking to some of Ryan Newman's crew this morning, they know the pressure's on for these next 6 weeks. They have to get all they can get, each and every one of those half dozen, to try and have a shot at competing for the championship. It's coming quickly, that cutoff point in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. So we've done driver introductions after they were rained out just before they began earlier. And what usually follows driver introductions at these races is the opening ceremony that we'll go trackside for now.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remove your hats as the United States Army Garrison Military Police Company out of West Point, New York, presents our nation's colors. Remain standing as Reverend Mike Salnicki offers today's invocation.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for your gifts for this great country and for all those who have and continue to sacrifice for the land of the free and the home of the brave. Father, we ask you to bless the events of today's Pennsylvania 400. Send your healing spirit upon those in need, and for those whom you have called to their everlasting reward, make their memory eternal. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Here to perform our national anthem, please welcome RCA recording artist Alex Boyd.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free? And the home of the brave.
Fans beginning to make their way back into their seats. There is still some work to be done on the track before it's raceable. So the drivers will stand by before they get the word from NASCAR to load in and buckle up and fire them up to go racing at Pocono. Getting closer to a green flag, hopefully, for the Pennsylvania 400.
Nice aerial shot of the tricky triangle. Long Pond, Pennsylvania, Pocono Raceway, hoping to get some on-track action coming up in just a little bit. Still some work to be done. Still a few wet spots out there on the track. But that means we just have a little bit of extra time to talk to some of the drivers that are milling around. There are a few previous winners in the field. There are a few multiple winners at Pocono Raceway. On the list, Jeff Gordon won here 5 times. Denny Hamlin 4 times in 3 starts. And number 3 on the list, Brad Doherty, Bobby Labonte in that 47 car. Who happens to be standing by with Vince Welch.
I am indeed standing with Bobby, and 3-time winner. They're just running down some of the guys that have won here on multiple occasions. Yep. What's the memory that stands out in your mind from one of your wins here?
Well, I'd say, you know, beating Dale Jr. at the, you know, through the tunnel turn in I think it was in 2001 was obviously awesome. I mean, that was an awesome day for us. But I think the best one was coming off turn 4. When I took the checker flag, you couldn't even see the second place car. That's always a good way to have it. So we got reprimanded for doing that. But anyway, we did that, and that was really pretty cool.
What's it take to be good here from a driver standpoint? I know from a car, you got to have a race car that's balanced and so forth. You got to have speed. But from a driver and a technique standpoint, what do you need?
Well, I mean, it's like a lot of people say. It's kind of like a road course. It's obviously different than any other track that we go to as far as oval track. To a certain extent, it reminds you a little bit of Indy some ways, and you got to have just a lot of, you know, your car's really got to be balanced good, but you know, you just got to be smooth. You can't overdrive it. You can't drive in too deep. A lot of the same characteristics of some other tracks, just that this one here shows up more than some places that we go to. So it's a finesse track that you just have to be real smooth at.
So had some great memories here. Good luck today, Bobby.
Thank you.
Let's go to Jerry Punch, Doc.
Well, Kurt Busch is hoping he got his bad luck out of the way last night at Iowa. You looked like he had at least a third-place finish last night, and you had a tire go down with 7 laps to go. I mean, just can't catch a break. Now, maybe the good luck comes today.
We're hoping so. This is a great Phoenix Construction Chevy. We had it last week at Indy, and it's one of the cars from Hendrick Motorsports that's relatively new. So we're really excited about this piece. That's why we brought it back here. And we qualified 12th last week, ran 8th. We're qualified 6th right now. Now we want to close the deal. Finch deserves it. This team deserves it. We've been working really hard all year, and just got to stay away from that bad luck, bud.
The team says they did not see how good you were going to be at Sonoma. The guys are saying, we believe we're going to be that good, if not better, today. You finished 3rd at Sonoma. You're good here. Why are you so good here at Pocono?
Sometimes they give me a blindfold, and I go out there and I drive. But honestly, this place is like a road course. Every corner is different, and it's an oval like Darlington and Phoenix, where all the portions of the racetrack are different. So we're going to give it our best shot. This Chevy's fast, and just all these guys, they work so hard. We want to get another top 5 and have a shot at winning today.
Hey, good luck today.
Thanks, Doctor.
Kurt Busch starting 6th. Let's go to Mike Massaro.
A guy who starts a little bit deeper in the field, Doc, well, that's Brad Keselowski, 31st today. It seems like you got a little bit of work to do. What's the plan?
Get to the front. You know, there's a lot of different strategies and things that are going to happen here today, and we just got to play them to our advantage. The Dodges get great fuel mileage, and we're going to use that to our advantage for sure, and I think my car is really fast in race trim. Fortunately, it wasn't fast in qualifying trim. That's why we're starting back here, but you know what? I'd rather have a good car in race trim, and the Miller Lite Dodge is fast.
Lots of rain. Wash the rubber away. What do you expect those first couple of laps to be like?
Well, you know, the last time we came here, it rained before the race, and the first few laps we all went down into turns 1, 2, and 3 and about wrecked. So I would expect that.
Let's go back to a year ago. You went to Victory Lane here. Obviously, the circumstances were different. You came in, big story, an injured foot. You're fully healthy now. You got a couple of wins under your belt as we get closer to the chase. How are things different 1 year later?
I think my team has a lot more confidence. We're building better cars every time we build a new one. Everybody at Penske Racing is putting their heads together and just getting a little bit smarter and moving forward. You know, I think there was some in-team fighting that we had a couple years back, and that's really dissolved, and everybody is working together. And I think that's really important for any race team. And at Penske Racing right now, on the car side, we've definitely got that going on, and definitely on the two-team side. So if we can get that to continue to elevate and continue to be better as a team and grow together with the 2 and the 22 and everybody at Penske Racing with the nationwide efforts included, you know, I think the sky's the limit, and I think we can win Roger's first championship.
Well, another victory could be on tap this afternoon. We wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Brad Keselowski awfully anxious to take the green, Dave.
And Mike, in June, Paul Menard left here in great shape, a 9th place finish, but then came the end of first practice this weekend on Friday. Paul, what happened?
It's a good question. We'll get the car back on Monday and you know, try to analyze it, but it looks like a water radiator hose blew out and watered up the front tires and hit the fence. But backup car is really good. Obviously qualified 3rd, which, you know, with the thrash between practices and still trying to get good race pace, we didn't really concentrate on qualifying and still qualified pretty decent. So hard work by the 27 guys.
You know, I'm sure you're one of the people that doesn't mind when they say Indy success can lead to Pocono success. So how about this year? Not the best run at the Indy, but with the win from last year, what do you think about this week?
I mean, I think since the repave, you know, both tracks are still totally different, but with the repave, it kind of gets both tracks closer. We had a top 10 run going last week. I had a little fender damage the last restart and dropped us back to, I think, 14th. But cars, you know, car was good last week. Car's good again this week, even in a backup. So, you know, I know we had some weather around here, but I think we'll get to halfway, and I'm hoping for it, and have to play the game.
Hey, keep those fenders clean today, okay?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Paul Menard starts 3rd today in Nicole with a great qualifying run.
And here's a question for you fans. Which driver do you think will take first out of this week's top 4 qualifiers? Montoya, Hamlin, Menard, or Kane? Text FAST to 34763 or go to AT&TFastestDriver.com to play. You could have a chance to win 4Gs just by playing along in today's AT&T Fastest Driver Challenge. Every week we have the chance to make your pick and see where you stack against the rest. And guess what? Breaking news, less than 5 minutes until drivers will be starting their engines, so we need to take a quick break. Thank you for watching NASCAR Countdown. When we come back, guess what?
Let's go
it's time to go racing. Alan Bestwick, DJ, and Andy Petrie will take it away.
Let's talk famous triangles for a second. You got the Bermuda Triangle, Pascal's Triangle, and the Tricky Triangle, Pocono Raceway. This ain't your average polygon track we're talking about here. We're talking some of the tightest turns and the longest straightaway on the circuit. My boys Denny, Brad, Jeff, and Greg are just some of the guys who know what I'm talking about. They don't need their protractors to see that the repaving means higher speeds and higher risks. These boys have mastered the triangle, while others might need to go to math class.
Two car injury here on the Long Pond straightaway. This is embarrassing.
This This year, there's 100 less miles, which means 100 less chances to take the lead. Who will be at the pinnacle of this tricky triangle?
Don't know much about Pascal's Triangle. Never been in the Bermuda Triangle, thank you. But I know about the tricky triangle, Pocono Raceway, where we see some great NASCAR racing over the years. Hopefully, we're about to see another one again right now.
Race fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Here to give the command, please welcome our Grand Marshals, the family members of the Flight 93 Heroes.
Gentlemen, start your engines!
And just over an hour and 45 minutes delayed by rain, and with some weather still threatening out there on the radar, we are ready for racing today at Pocono. 6 races to go until the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup begins, and the championship leader is the sport's most popular driver. Dale Earnhardt Jr. broke that long winless streak in Michigan 6 races ago. Today he's got a very fast car with which to defend that point lead and try and get another win. Dale Earnhardt Jr., our ESPN in-race reporter today. We'll talk with him when the pace laps begin in just a minute.
Some folks love to love him. Others love to hate him. All because of his last name. But no matter how you feel about him, you have to admit, doesn't the world feel just a little more normal having an Earnhardt on top of the heap?
Now, judging by the crowd around the 88 hauler in the NASCAR Sprint Cup garage this morning, I'd say a lot of folks feel that way. Dale Earnhardt Jr., the NASCAR Sprint Cup Championship leader, rolling onto the racetrack as the field of cars begins the parade and pace laps. Finally, before the start of today's Pennsylvania 400, Jr., our ESPN in-race reporter for the day.
Dale Jr., Dale Jarrett, you with us?
Sir.
Hey, man, you were here about 6 weeks ago, fast race car, led over 30 laps with that car. You come back here now as the points leader. We know what the fans expect of you. What's your expectations from this day?
Well, I hope we get another shot at the win. We had a shot at it last time we were here, and chose to be safe and take fuel there at the end. So hopefully we get that opportunity again, and we make a different call and gamble a little bit. We can, because of the situation we're in with the points. We can take some risky moves, and if we have a good enough day, I think we got enough race car to have a shot at it.
Hey, Junior, our mailbag question, we had a lot of them, but this was from Chris from Hamilton, Ohio. And it's kind of along those lines. It says, Dale, what is most on your mind right now? Points, chase, or winning?
Well, right now, just winning. I had so much fun celebrating with my team in Michigan. I want to do that again today and many more times before the end of the season. That was a lot of fun. I'm ready to go back to Victor Lane.
All right, good luck in that quest today. Thanks for talking with us. Now, Andy's going to talk to your crew chief, Steve Letarte.
Hey, Steve, Andy Petrie in the booth. I tried to catch up with you earlier in the garage and couldn't get through the crowd to you. You were so busy talking to the media and all the fans around. Is that a distraction of having the point lead right now, or is it really a motivation for you guys to close the deal and try to win this championship this year?
Well, Andy, without a doubt, having the points is definitely not a distraction. I think success can be a distraction. I think Hendrick does a great job. We have a lot of people to help us out with that. We get to focus on racing, and it's a great feather in the cap to these guys and Dale and how hard we've worked all year long. And hopefully we got a few more races here. We get the win before the chase and end the regular season on a high note.
Well, Steve, we're talking about taking chances, and this is a track that kind of offers that up. What kind of opportunities or chances can you take today that you may not be able to do it, say, at Charlotte or Chicago?
Well, Andy, what makes Pocono very unique is you don't normally lose a lap here pitting. It's almost like a road course. So you'll really be able to back up your pit cycle, pit real early. I think there'll be a lot of that today, a lot of 2 tires, no tires, gas only. The new pavement has really allowed a lot of creative pit strategies, and a track that's so huge for track position. I think you're going to see a lot of those today from a lot of teams.
Okay, well, good luck. I hope you get it right. Thanks for talking to us, Steve.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, see that smile. He hopes he gets it right, too. Heard from our in-race reporter, our over-the-wall reporter today is Kenyatta Houston, changing front tires for David Gilliland. Kenyatta, have a great race. Be safe.
All right. Y'all take it easy down there.
Stretching all out, getting ready to go again after an hour-and-a-half rain delay. Got some great onboard views for you to ride around the tricky triangle here at Pocono. Brad Keselowski is carrying our Dodge onboard camera a little bit further back in the pack than we might have expected to see him start. Denny Hamlin, the FedEx Ground on board. Tony Stewart's got the fresh from Florida Gulf Seafood camera. Clint Boyer with the 5-hour energy on board. Joey Logano, the Home Depot on board. Jimmy Johnson, the Lowe's camera. Mark Martin with the Toyota camera, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. carrying our Chevy on board. Pit reporters all stretched out and ready to go too. Mike Massaro, you all set down there?
I am indeed. You know, Denny Hamlin, for him, this racetrack might be better termed the triumphant triangle. Let's face it, it hasn't been all that tricky for him. Since 2006, he's led over 600 laps and claimed 4 victories here today. Today, he rolls off on the outside of row number 2, looking for a piece of history. With a 5th Pocono win, well, Hamlin will join some elite company, joining Bill Elliott and Jeff Gordon as one of the all-time win leaders here at Pocono. Let's go over to Vince Welch.
A year ago, Carl Edwards barely missed out on his first Sprint Cup Series championship, and he was expected to be a championship contender, a prime contender again this year. But with 6 to go before the chase cutoff, Edwards is currently on the outside, 12th in points, 0 wins. He knows he's going to likely have to have multiple victories if he's to make the chase again this season. Edwards says this is the best car he's had here in years, and he believes today he could be making his first trip to victory lane. Dave Burns?
Jimmy Johnson celebrated last week's 4th Brickyard win with myriad interviews, including one on ESPN's NASCAR Now on Tuesday. They had Jimmy's childhood hero Rick Mears call in and congratulate him on tying Rick for a 4th Brickyard win. Jimmy said, "I got goosebumps from the experience." He can tie him again today. Rick Mears, 3 wins here at Pocono in an Indy car. Jimmy, 2 in a stock car. And the way that 48's been running lately, Ricky, don't lose that number. Dr. Jerry Punch?
Well, Tony Stewart's race car today has a back-to-school paint scheme. Tony said when he was back in school, his favorite subjects were math, physics, and geometry, all of which help him in racing. Why? Well, he said, you know, geometry helps me understand when a racetrack is a triangle, not a rectangle. Physics, I understand lower center of gravity helps you when a high-speed hairpin like turn 1 here at Pocono. And math, he said, last time I won here, we did it on fuel mileage calculations. So if you do the math today, Tony starts 28th in a 160-lap race. He's got plenty of time to get there. For Tony, it's all about going back to school and back to victory lane. Now let's go back to the 3 guys in the booth, Alan, Andy, and Dale.
We're all stretched out and ready to go to work too, Doc. Pennsylvania 400 at Pocono about to get underway. Make sure you check out NASCAR.com/RaceBuddy and watch coverage live from Pocono. You can follow your favorite drivers for free with 8 live camera views. Carl Edwards set to go in that 99 car talking to his crew.
All right, everybody. Thank you guys for all the hard work here this weekend. Got a good car. I think have a good time. Try to win this race.
Carl is one of a number of guys who had really fast cars in race trim practice who only qualified mid-pack.
Yeah, I think what they need in the race is probably quite a bit different than that. So we're going to have a great time watching him drive this 99 Ford up through the field.
Yeah, the reason these cars are starting so far back is the weird weather conditions we had yesterday morning for qualifying. Some of the cars that were fast, even in qualifying trim and race trim, didn't get the weather they needed to qualify up front. Brad Keselowski starting way back there in 31st spot. I know that Paul Wolf, his crew chief, he's got a lot of things up his sleeve he'll try to pull out today.
2.5-mile track, 160 laps for the 400-mile distance. Competition caution coming at lap 20. There is still rain threatening on the radar. Pace car is off an hour and a half late, but better late than never. We're green at Pocono. A clean turn 1. Juan Pablo Montoya challenged by Denny Hamlin in the 11 as they head for the tunnel turn.
They just really never know what to expect on the racetrack.
that you don't have a big notebook on. With this thing just being repaid, here comes Montoya back to the inside trying to take the lead back. Driving it off in these corners at these high speeds can be a little bit risky at the start.
Mark Keselowski saying he expected them to all be wrecking in every one of these corners. I noticed he left a little gap in front of his car on this start.
Can you blame him?
No.
Montoya leads lap 1. Hamlin second, Ambrose third, Kurt Busch fourth, Earnhardt Jr. fifth, and I keep seeing that M&M's car, Kyle Busch, popping on a line to the inside.
You know, I talked with Kyle on Friday, late in that second practice session. He was extremely happy with his race car. He said, if it performs like this on Sunday, we will be up front in the mix.
And Hamlin, again, off of turn number 1, going for the lead.
Same place that we saw just a minute ago. Montoya was able to cross back over as they got through the tunnel turn right here, getting back to the gas a little bit earlier. It gives him the make it happen.
Yeah, he gives it the angle there. He just backs off the gas, lets Hamlin go, and it gives him the preferred angle coming off the corner. Now he's going to bring Ambrose with him.
In a challenge for second. Well, little slide there on that 9 car.
Yeah, that inside's the preferred line, but when you're on the inside of another car, that can make it kind of dicey for you. You can't get to the throttle. Here's 3 wide.
Logano 20, 43 Almirola, Johnson 48, and keep an eye on that 18 again.
Every time we see him, he's passing cars so far. Pretty good guy to follow to his teammate, Joey Logano, who won the first race here back in the spring.
Kyle already up 6 spots and going for a 7th in the opening 3 laps. Now make it work in the 4th lap. There's Junior by the 9 of Ambrose. Dale Jr. up to 4th spot. How many laps into this race before the driver has enough of a feel for how his car and the track conditions are matching up and starts making those radio calls to the pit box?
Yeah, I think you can get 10 or 12 laps into this race. And there's enough cars out there running hard, getting that rubber put down. And this racing surface isn't going to change a tremendous amount, but just getting that little bit of rubber, they'll be able to start getting some information back here in about 7 or 8 laps.
Yeah, and in the meantime, it is going to be changing some. That green track is not going to be the same as what they're going to have when they get that competition and caution. So you kind of want to wait a little bit. I mean, I'm going to listen to the comments from the driver, but I'm not going to make a decision until later in this run.
Kurt Busch up to 3rd in the 51. And this race, Kasey Kahne in the 5, Paul Menard in the 27, and the 17 of Matt Kenseth. That's for 6th, 7th, and 8th. It's today that Blue gang breaks that long dry spell. You heard it addressed by Greg Biffle earlier.
Yeah, man, the way they started the season out, it looked like that they were just going to kind of dominate things. I mean, Kenseth is strong, Biffle every single week, and we expected Carl Edwards to break through at any time, but, man, since Texas, it just really hasn't happened for any of these guys.
The success is really a relative thing in this business because there's so many of these teams that continually work on these cars, these packages, that improve on them. We've had a few rule changes with the side skirts, and so that changes the balance of competition, and I think the Ford guys are just trying to catch up a little bit.
This is 7th place, Paul Menard in the 27. Remember, this is a backup car after a hard crash he had here on Friday.
As they come down through there, how about Kurt Busch keeping this 51 car up there? That has to be a big boost for this race team, Andy.
It is. It's a small team, and those guys, they really are overachievers by putting what they're able to do, and they love Kurt Busch. They love how hard he drives this race car, and they know they go to every race with a chance to win.
Kurt racing Dale Jr. there for 3rd and 4th.
I think if you kind of polled the garage, everybody would probably say the 88 was the best in race trim.
Wow.
It showed a little muscle right there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think that's what the garage thought. In talking to Dale Jr., which may be a good thing, you don't want to get overly optimistic just as he takes over to the 3rd spot. But he felt like that he needed just a little bit more speed. And what I'm seeing right now, I think he might have found that speed. I don't know what they changed, but it looks like it was the right thing.
So Junior up to 3rd behind Montoya and Hamlin. Remember last week at Indianapolis, Carl Edwards started 2nd and had some troubles in the early laps? We're not seeing a repeat, are we, Vince?
Well, it's not the same type of issue, but Carl is a little bit concerned. Listen to the radio.
Hey, for some reason my oil temp gauge, it's reading about 195, and then it's just bouncing all the way up to the peg 320, and the light's going off while the needle moves up, and then it comes back.
You know, last week he regretted coming into the pits to have that issue looked at. He lost 2 laps early. Carl said, I'm not coming in this time.
Well, that particular issue, while you don't want that, I'm not too concerned with it. That particular system is not connected to the ECU, and so it's probably just a glitch in the gauge of the sending unit. I wouldn't worry about it too much right now. I just kind of tell them to forget about it.
On board Denny Hamlin. Trying to take that lead away from Pablo Montoya. He got it from him a couple of times in turn 1. Lost it right back in turn 2. Now he's going at it down the front stretch off turn 3.
He's going to get it down into turn 1, I believe. The key will be, can he hold on to it this time?
And it might not be Montoya that's going to put the charge on it. It might be that 88.
Yes, sir.
Denny's wanting to get a lap led. He knew that he better get it. That 88 was coming hard to his back bumper.
I'm impressed with Montoya, though, so far. I mean, to get the poles, kind of out of the blue, the team hasn't really been that good lately. I know everybody works through stuff, and it can happen at any time, but I was surprised he set on the pole, and kind of surprised he's held on as good as he has to start.
He was so animated when he joined us in the late stages of qualifying in the pit studio yesterday. And so excited as each car went and didn't top his time. Kasey Kahne on the move in that 5 car right of your screen, trying to get 4th away from Kurt Busch, while Junior peeks inside of Montoya. Not quite there for 2nd.
Yeah, that's going to be a hard pass to make. You used to be able to be that you might outbrake someone down in there. With the new surface, all of these guys are able to get down in the corner pretty hard, but Junior's got a great run up off of turn 1. Should have the spot. Let's see if he can hold on to it and keep Montoya behind him off of this tunnel turn.
He's able to get the position and get the angle into the corner before they got there. I think that's the key.
And I think Montoya's car is starting to give up a little bit now, so it wasn't as good as when he had those really new tires right at the beginning of this race.
So Montoya 3rd, now being closed on by Kahne in 4th, as Dale Jr. goes to 2nd, and after Denny Hamlin, the leader. Look at the people.
Well, they were excited before this started, just with Junior being the points leader right at this point in time, but to see this 88 car come up through the field, running cars down, I think that's the biggest thing. You know, they used to see, whenever he wasn't winning and struggling a little bit, might get the lead through the pit stops or something like that. But this is chasing cars down and taking the lead.
Just underway after an hour-and-a-half rain delay in the Pennsylvania 400 at Pocono, Denny Hamlin, 5th in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series standings, a 2-time winner this season and a 4-time winner here at Pocono, is out in front. Back live, Pocono Raceway in Pennsylvania with a new leader. In the Pennsylvania 500, Dale Earnhardt Jr. has gone by Denny Hamlin and put himself out in front. There's the gap, 1st to 2nd. Just moments ago, here's how it happened.
Yeah, this car is really just hooked up on the bottom, and Junior's strength is getting off of these corners and maximizing the horsepower. Able to do it down the long front straightaway. I think Denny didn't give him much of a fight there.
I don't think it would have mattered.
No.
A little proof that the 88 car is fast, besides the fact that he's leading. As we look at the fastest stats, brought to you live all race long by the new Sprint Direct Connect, part of the fastest push-to-talk experience. Upgrade to the new Done. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has turned the fastest lap, 172 miles an hour averaging. The fastest stats brought to you by the new Sprint Direct Connect. Upgrade to the new Done. Find out more at sprint.com/speed and get done. Junior getting it done. Look at that.
Yeah, he's already put a big gap on Denny Hamlin. He's getting a little pressure now from Kasey Kahne.
I think Kasey Kahne's another one to be a factor here. I mean, he's got those 2 victories. He really get a run off the bottom of the track there. He's going to take this 2nd spot away from Denny, but I think he would like to have a 3rd win just to make sure that he's secure in the chase.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I've talked to Kenny Francis about that. He got 2 wins. You feel pretty confident in that getting in the chase. And you'd be surprised how much he doesn't feel confident with just 2 wins. They really would like to have another one. I mean, they feel good they have them, but they'd rather have another one.
It's amazing how different things look inside of this sport than looking at it from the outside.
Montoya and Ambrose Ambrose getting shuffled a little bit. Ambrose just giving up a spot temporarily to Greg Biffle.
Like Ambrose has got a loose situation there, especially off of that turn 3. If he can get some of that fixed, it'll certainly help his speed throughout this day.
And Montoya also getting passed by Kurt Busch. So Kurt in 5th, Montoya 6th. Jimmy Johnson there, 48 in 7th. A lot of folks figure we'll see this 48 car up in the number 1 spot for a lot of this race.
I would not be surprised to see him up there pretty quick.
I'm not sure that, especially after the way they dominated a race last week, Jimmy's smart enough and this whole team smart enough that they may just kind of play this slow unless they see, obviously, weather approaching. But I think he hangs out. As far as charging to the front, he's going to pass him when he can, just like this, but he's not just going to show everything he's got yet.
See Jimmy, he's flipping the brake blower switches on when he gets into the corner, and then he turns them back off on the straightaway. Keep from warping the rotors up is what I'm imagining this is, because he turns them off when he gets to the straightaway. The straightaway is so long that you have all this cooling time. Those rotors can really quench down, and then when you put all that heat in them, getting to the corner, they can warp up and really cause you a lot of problems during the day.
Talk about a lot of drivers, and Denny Hamlin being one of those. He does it at this racetrack, being smooth, doesn't use a lot of brake, carries the momentum. Jimmy is a charging the corner type guy. He uses a lot of brake this race car to make it all work. Obviously, it's worked very well for him, but I think you're exactly right about what he's doing there.
So Jimmy Johnson running in 6th position. He started back in 10th.
Some of the things you look for in the crew chief, you watch him make a pit stop. I noticed last week in Indianapolis, they would take that right front tire off. You see all the brake dust just fall off. It means he's using a lot of brake to go fast.
Montoya and Biffle, 42, 16. And Ambrose making a 3-way race there in the 9. This will be for 7th, 8th, and 9th spots. And don't forget,
they'll fight for these spots because there's a couple laps we're going to have a caution. They want to have track position.
That's exactly where I was going.
Sorry about that. Well, we're on the same page anyway.
There you go. What are we going to see on that caution flag? 20 laps is a little bit more than half a fuel run, so you're going to need more than just the first can of fuel.
Yeah, you'll still see some 2-tire stops, though, because it won't take a full 2 cans. And, yeah, they can't put fuel in. They can't pull that little strategy move that we'll see later in the race. They can't come in like now under green and get that pit stop out of the way to stay out, because NASCAR will not let them put fuel in the car until that caution comes out. So you won't be able to gain an advantage over somebody with a little strategy.
Ambrose determined.
Yeah, we've heard a number of drivers talk about this being somewhat like a road course. Montoya yesterday told us he didn't think it was anything like one, but if you think about a road course, I think that's why you can see Ambrose run well here. He'll certainly be a factor next week for sure as we go to Watkins Glen.
That competition caution coming at lap 20, and the way NASCAR tends to do these things.
Whoa, Kyle Busch sideways there.
And out the wall.
Yep. That groove was not meant to be that high.
2 more, 1 more. Still green, come on down.
Now the caution tire.
Yellow's out, yellow's out.
Yeah, that car jumped up there pretty quick, and it, like I said, that groove still, it doesn't have any rubber on it because of the rain. So when he got up there, it went quick to the wall.
Wow, what a bad break. He was moving forward.
Looks like the left rear is down. That's
I'm knocked out of it now, but something broke before I got there.
Kyle running 10th at the time.
Straight to the garage.
Yeah, you can see, I believe, see that left rear down right there.
Down,
yeah,
sure.
Yeah, that's what happened. He ran over something and punctured that left rear. This team has not had much good racing luck happen for them so far this year.
If I had to pick a place on this track for that not to happen, it'd be right there. Tell you what, he's lucky he didn't hit harder than he did.
So first caution out, 1 lap shy of when the competition caution was going to come out. And Kyle Busch, who had an engine failure here in the June 10th race, had a disappointing finish. Part of a very tough luck run in the summer that they seemed to snap with that runner-up performance at Indianapolis last Sunday. But he didn't make it 50 miles into this one today at Pocono. And
that's just all bad luck. That car was fast today. They were looking for a really good run.
So you will see the pit road open this time. And this will serve as both the accident caution and the competition caution. So expecting a lot of strategy here and a lot of just 2-tire stops.
And in taking the chance to do 2 tires, I know you want to keep that track position. Can you really learn what you need to know about your car in doing that?
Well, sometimes you have to compromise a little bit. If you really need that track position, you're back there. You're going to go ahead and just do what it takes to try to steal some, and then work on your car a little bit later. This is a long race, even though it is shortened by 100 miles. It's still 400 miles.
And the track's going to change a little bit more from what we have here.
Remember, 22 speeding on pit road penalties in the June race here. We'll see if the tally's a little lower today. Here they come, Mike.
And Matt Kenseth radioing in to Jimmy Fennig that the car was progressively getting tight everywhere. They're going to make a 4-tire change on the 17. Also an air pressure adjustment on the front tires, just trying to free him up just a little bit. Meanwhile, Denny Hamlin saying just the opposite. He's free in and off of turns 1 and 3. A 2-tire change there, Vince.
The 5-car of Casey Kane leaving the pits now. 2 tires, right side only, and a half round down to the right rear jack bolt. Air pressure in the right front, Doc.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., right side tires only. Filled it up with no-go fuel. He's the first off of pit road. What a scramble at the end of pit road, guys.
Yeah, Doc, as much of a scramble as it is in turn 1 on the restarts, it's a scramble at the end of that wide pit road here at Pocono. Montoya gaining some ground, Hamlin losing some. Remember, Montoya had that first pit stall pick from winning the pole.
That's what I was going to say. It's hard to gain that many spots unless you have that #1 pit stall.
Now, there were some cars that didn't pit under this caution. We'll follow up on that and get you set for what is always a wild restart here at Pocono in a minute.
This way.
Back in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series garage, work going on Kyle Busch's car. Trying to get everything in line so they can send that 18 back out onto the racetrack. Kyle in the wall in turn 1 after a left rear tire appeared to go flat and brought out the first caution of the race. Casey Kane lost a little bit of ground on the pit stops. Here's why.
Kind of congested down there. Everybody getting done about the same time. It's a good thing we have a nice wide pit road, though, to exit on.
And the 3 cars who didn't pit, Jamie McMurray in the 1, Mark Martin in the 55, Brad Keselowski in the 2. Dale Jr. first off the pit lane, lines up 4th on the restart. Let's see how this shakes out.
Yeah, this could get exciting right here. See him 3 wide back here. You can go through turn 1 2 wide. With the tunnel turn, it's not advised. Let's see what happens.
Just see how strong that 88 car is. Man, just at will.
Yeah, even when he doesn't get the perfect angle in there, that car still turns and rotates through the center of the corner and is able to get good drive off.
Mark Martin getting shuffled back in that 55. He restarted 2nd.
We talked about strategy opportunities. We saw 3 cars stay out. Mark was one of them. That Brad Keselowski in the 2. He's another one, too. What they're going to do, they're going to run their tanks just about out of fuel and make their pit stop under green, just like we would see on a road course. As long as you're within about 20 seconds of the lead, you can make that pit stop and get back out without losing a lap, kind of get off sequence. And that's what they need to do to try to make up some of that track position.
You know, a number of drivers were telling me in practice on Friday that they ran their fastest lap of practice after about 20 laps on the tires. So there's no concern as far as losing a lot of speed right here. You see Keselowski trying to take the lead now from Jamie McMurray.
Defending winner of this race, driver of the 2, remember a year ago, had that broken bone in his ankle after the vicious testing crash at Road Atlanta. He goes to the point, but that very fast 88 car follows him through.
This will be a good gauge to see just how good this 2 car is. Now, he's got a little lighter fuel load than the 88. Like we said, the tires are not that much different, whether they got laps on them or not. So we'll get a kind of a gauge and see just how Keselowski is going to race against this 88.
While we follow the action on the track, we also check back in the garage, Dave.
With Kyle Busch, he brought out the first caution. Kyle, what did you feel, and then could they confirm what it was?
Just disintegrated a rear brake rotor and blew through the caliper after that. So going down into turn 1, fastest part of the racetrack, and you have 3-wheel brakes, ain't too much fun. But just the way our year's been going, it's kind of our luck. Hate it for all these guys, everybody at M&M's, but what do you do?
We've talked about it. It was either points or wins, and now you're kind of down to wins again, don't you think?
Pretty much, but the way our year's gone, it doesn't even matter.
He's out early. Shouldn't have been. Fast race car again today, guys.
All right, Dave, so Kyle Busch in the garage area already as Matt Kenseth Tries to march toward the front in that 17 car. Trying to get third spot away from Jamie McMurray, and he'll do so.
Like Jamie kind of yielded that spot to him.
Wisely. Greg Biffle picking up a spot under Mark Martin. Here comes Jimmy Johnson. Mark going to get shuffled back to 7th spot after restarting second.
We talked about Jimmy Johnson flipping his brake switches on and off on the straightaway. And then we talked about how that rotor can quench itself, getting overcooled, and that can make the rotor explode, actually crack, and then it's going so fast and so much centrifugal force on that rotor that it can crack and break, and then that's what happened to Kyle.
Here comes Jimmy. Tell you, another guy keeps popping out of line. See that blue and white car right of the screen? Every time I look up, it seems like Carl Edwards just dropped down 2 or 3 wide and trying to dig for some more ground.
Well, he's due for a good day. It would really be nice to see Carl get up there and try to battle for a win. It's been a while since that's happened for this race team.
Martin Truex Jr. trying to get a spot there on Juan Pablo Montoya. Looking at Kurt Busch right of the screen. Remember, we saw him running as high as 3rd earlier. He's back in 23rd now.
Feels like you just put a 1,000-pound spring in the right rear, whatever we did. We're no good.
So, Mike, whatever they did on that first pit stop, obviously Kurt didn't like the way the car reacted.
I would say you're absolutely right. What they did, obviously they didn't put a 1,000-pound spring in the right rear. All they did was make an air pressure adjustment, a ½ pound in the right rear, and now suddenly, as you heard, Kurt not happy with the race car, saying it's loose everywhere.
I talked to Nick Harrison this morning in the garage. They're trying a little different setup here than they've been running, and it may be a little more sensitive to those air pressure changes, and they're having to kind of get a feel for it.
Yeah, and that ½ pound will be like putting more spring in the right rear. Maybe not 1,000 pounds, but it doesn't take much because they run such a big right rear spring in these things to start with, and if you just get it off a little bit, it makes it so extremely loose, hard for the driver to keep up with it.
Dale, you talked earlier about seeing how good the Keselowski's car was once he got out in front with Junior behind him. He's held the lead.
Really impressive of what this 2 car's doing, but he was fast in practice the other day. Just got a terrible lap qualifying yesterday.
Jamie McMurray restarted with the lead after not pitting under the first and only caution. Back there racing for 5th with Greg Biffle in the 16. So, Andy, running it out to a full fuel load in this one car, that's going to be just another lap or 2 from now.
Yeah, they expect that they can go about 30, 32 laps maybe. I'm kind of interested to see just how far that 2 car can go. I've talked to those guys a lot the last couple of weeks, and they get great fuel mileage, and this is a good place to use it. They might want to stretch it right here. We might see just how far they can go.
Good look at the cars running in the top 15. Or your favorite driver might be. There's the pole sitter, Juan Pablo Montoya. In that red and white 42, Clint Boyer behind him. Martin Truex in the 56, and Jeff Gordon trying to pick up a spot. That'll be 14th place.
Yeah, some of his experience there. You can't have the draft used to your advantage here. Really, you're over 200 miles per hour at that point in time getting down into turn 1. You see Jeff use that, get that run, and take the spot away.
Denny Hamlin way back in traffic there in that 11 car after being up front and leading some laps early in this race. The gap from first to second is suddenly a lot bigger than it was. Dale Earnhardt Jr. fell back off Brad Keselowski's back bumper in this last lap.
Just like we talked about at Indy last week, as these drivers get closer to that car in front of them, they lose the front end a little bit. There's not, I mean, this is a wide racetrack, but you have to try to move around to see where you can make it fit.
One thing I would tell him if I was Letard, I'd say, hey, just try to keep that lead because you'll have some clean air when that 2 car pits. Mike?
Good clean stop for Mark Martin. 4 tires and fuel. Did not stop at the competition caution, so a little bit of strategy being played here in the 55 camp.
Yep, and we'll see the 2 of Keselowski and the 1 of McMurray in the next lap or 2 as well. Top 3 put a little bit of a gap on 4th place. Keselowski, Earnhardt Jr., and Kenseth. Pennsylvania 400. Still in its early stages after a 90-minute delay for rain here at Pocono Raceway in Pennsylvania. Brad Keselowski has just given up the race lead for a green flag pit stop along with Jamie McMurray. We saw Mark Martin in a lap or 2 before that. So all the guys that did not pit under the first caution have cycled in, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. has gone back to the point. Change for 2nd place, Jimmy Johnson by Matt Kenseth.
Like I said, he'll probably wait for a while before he comes to the front, right? This is a while.
Yeah. Being methodical and taking his time.
He got strung out. They made it easier for him just to pass him one at a time. So,
how about your reaction to what we heard from Jimmy Johnson earlier on NASCAR Countdown? First time I recall him saying publicly, I want to win an 8th championship, and I want to be considered the best ever.
I love it. Why shouldn't he be? I mean, he's done things that nobody else has ever done in this sport to start with. So you have to, as a driver and as a championship driver, you have to set more goals for yourself. So we haven't seen that side of Jimmy. It's not a bragging thing. It's just the fact that, hey, this is my goal. I'm letting you in on it, and I think it's great for everybody to know that.
I thought so.
I think, yeah, and he said he didn't want to be disrespectful to the guys that have 1-7. And to me, it's actually the opposite. I think it's showing how much respect he does have for those 2 guys that have 1-7 championships. He just sets it as a goal. Those are the guys I want to be.
So, situation now. Brad Keselowski goes from being in front of Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the lead to 42 seconds back in 34th place, Dave.
Well, with Paul right now, Paul, what has to happen next? And I guess, is this a wet weather or dry weather strategy?
Well, I mean, it's just the situation we're in because we qualified so poorly. We need to get track position. So, you know, everybody at Penske Engine has done a real good job at giving us good fuel mileage, and it opens up some windows for us and puts us in a better situation where we can do things like this.
Remember, they started 31st here in the June race, too, so they're getting kind of used to this. It's not such a great thing, but he knows how to play the strategy, Alan.
Yes, he does.
I don't think he showed his hand on how far they could go right there. I think he made that pit stop. But when he has to go a long way, it might surprise you just how far this car can go on fuel.
And I can tell you as a driver, that's the guy I want sitting on top of my pit box. Paul Wolfe, he is magical in making these calls and looking at these races and figuring out exactly what they need to do to put that race team in a place to win.
Jimmy Johnson trying to creep in on Dale Earnhardt Jr. for the lead. You see Matt Kenseth in that 17 has fallen a little bit back off. And here's the race for 4th. Greg Biffle, 16. Casey Kane in the 5.
Actually have all 3 of the Roush Fenway cars up in the top 7 now, so pretty solid day for the Fords so far.
And for that matter, all 4 of the Hendrick Chevys in the top 9.
Well, you one up me there.
Would you say it's a heavyweight fight there up the front?
I'm just looking at these lap times. Keselowski and Mark Martin are back there running the fastest laps on those new tires. Just trying to see how much that's worth. It's not a terrible amount, but it's about 3 or 4 tenths faster than the leaders are running right now.
So tying a couple of things together. Earlier we talked about Carl Edwards maybe feeling or seeing some things on his temperature gauges that he wasn't comfortable with in the opening laps. Then we noticed he was diving to the inside every time we saw and picking up spots. And Vince, he's back up to 7th.
Yeah, their hearts have skipped a beat a couple of times already today. We've talked about how important this race is. They've got to win races to make the chase. They had the temperature gauge concern right off the bat. And then Edwards had a contact with his right front with the 56 as he was exiting his pit box on that initial pit stop. So they took a good close look at that right front on that 99 car. As you see the lead change and Jimmy Johnson going to the front past Dale Jr. The good news for Carl Edwards and company, the lap times are strong. They don't believe there's any significant damage on that right front.
All right, so again, Edwards in 7th place, 10 seconds behind the new leader.
And what was it Brad said in the countdown show? Jimmy Johnson's got a cold heart taking that lead from Junior. Dave?
talking about Jimmie Johnson and the flipping of switches, and there could be a couple of different reasons to do that. There could also be one issue that might be a little bit of a problem. Listen to this.
The front switch keeps turning off my pants. The switch just turns off? Yeah, it just flips down. That's worth the tape for you on the next stop.
So a little tape in there to hold that switch in position for Jimmie.
You see he's got extensions that are on the ends of the switches, and they have a little bit of mass to them, and over the bumps sometimes they can actually make the switch turn off. Not very many bumps on this track though.
So we're at 100 miles, a quarter of the distance into the Pennsylvania 400. 6 different drivers trading the lead 6 different times. Most recent to take the lead, Jimmie Johnson, the 5-time champ and the winner last Sunday at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Steaming by Dale Earnhardt Jr. for the number 1 spot just a couple of circuits ago. As we look on at Pocono Raceway today, we wrap up our motorsports weekend coverage with the O'Reilly Auto Parts NHRA Northwest Nationals at 6 Eastern tonight on ESPN2. Then next weekend, it's onto the road course, not all that far north from here, at Watkins Glen International, the Nationwide Series, Saturday 2 Eastern on ABC, and the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, starting with NASCAR Countdown at noon Eastern next Sunday here on ESPN. Over a quarter of the way in the Pennsylvania 400 at Pocono Raceway. Make sure to go to NASCAR.com for all your latest NASCAR information. Information I'll pass on to you now. Kyle Busch has come back from the garage. He's 23 laps down in 41st place, but they have effected repairs on the 18, and he has rejoined the pursuit of points. And we've seen green flag pit stops from Paul Menard and Joey Logano while we were away in the break. Tony Stewart up to 9th position. There's the scoring serial on Tony. And Doc, these guys played a little different strategy than most, even though they pitted at the same time as the majority of the front runners.
Yes, they did, AB. They put 4 tires on. You know, yesterday, Tony was just okay in race trim and terrible in qualifying trim. That's why he started 28. But this morning, Steve Addington, the crew chief, said what we're going to do is we're going to make the car comfortable for Tony. They changed the rear bar, changed the truck arms to move to where the car was the most comfortable back in June when Tony drove from 22nd to 3rd. Guess what? You make Tony comfortable, you make him fast. He started 28th, already 9th, and he is on the move toward the top 5.
He was the first one off the pit lane with the 4-tire change and marching.
Yeah, I think that could possibly be because they did make changes. They weren't extremely happy with this race car, and so I think they wanted to get to the point that they can really evaluate their car and some more changes they may need to make. They're finding some speed now, so if they continue in that direction, Smoke might be up in the top 5 before we know it.
Remember how that march last Sunday in Indianapolis was as low as 32nd at one point. Wound up charging his way forward for a top 10 finish.
Yeah, they've been struggling with their setup for this track and for Indianapolis, but doing a really good job of honing in on it. They did a great job at Indianapolis, tuning on the car and getting up to the front and making passes when they needed to, and they've done that here too.
Now the window's open for pit stops. Clint Bowyer, Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex, Regan Smith, and more, Mike.
And Denny Hamlin complaining he's a little bit loose on entry, not the way he likes it. They're going to make a chassis adjustment. They go to work on the right side, now swing around to the left side of the race car. 4-tire change on the 11. Meanwhile, Clint Bowyer also saying he's a little bit too loose. He heads on down pit road, and he'll make his adjustments and changes in his way. 4 tires for the 15.
Jimmie Johnson from the lead. Dale Jr., Greg Biffle also following in. By the way, no speeding penalties on that first round of pit stops.
Turn in, turn in, turn in, turn in. Nice and smooth.
You heard Chad on the radio reminding him to watch the 10 car, and then he called him to turn in. Another little track bar adjustment, just down a little bit more. The 48 car a little bit free, but obviously fast. Doc?
Dale Earnhardt Jr. got a little bit of a crosswind on the tunnel turn to the car. A little bit tight. Also a little snug entering 3. Quarter round change on the track bar. Each 4 tires. He is down and away. Up pit road tire change for Greg Biffle. Greg saying the car is as good as it's ever been here at Pocono.
Matt Kenseth takes over the race lead. There's the pole sitter, Montoya. And Kenseth now in, Mike.
And he's saying he's a little bit tight in 3, but otherwise good in 1 and 2. They're going to raise the track bar slightly. Also a 4-tire change on the 17 car of Matt Kenseth. Vince?
The 5 car of Kasey Kahne, he's been pretty pleased with it. They made a chassis adjustment the first stop. This time they're going with 4 tires at Casey's request. Otherwise pleased with the race car. Now the 99 of Carl Edwards, he's been fighting loose. You see that chassis adjustment there in the right rear track bar going down a couple of rounds. 4-tire change for the 99. Dave?
Jeff Gordon is in, Vince. A 4-tire change for him. Loose in and off the corner. A little snug in the middle. Just an air pressure adjustment along with a full load of Sunoco fuel for Jeff Gordon. Doc?
And 4 tires already completed pit stop for Tony Stewart. 4 tires, slight air pressure. Tony's in the car. Really, really has good balance. He's away.
Kurt Busch is the leader for the moment. Has not yet cycled through his pit stop. There's the 51. Dale Jr.
You got it, won't stand
off
any
the
gear.
pace.
Third, no fourth. Can't get second or first, obviously going as fast, but or it won't make fourth, correct? In third, won't make fourth. No third, no fourth. Yeah, that's not going to work. Okay, we're going to have to go change it then. Let's go change transmission, guys.
Well, that's a shame right there. Yep. That transmission is highly stressed at this track.
Yes, go to the garage. Yeah, they won't have to. We can take it, but only get you up here. Go in there, put it up, guys. Take a look at it. There's no reason to come all the way down here. We just have to push it all the way back up there. Just coast in the garage, get up on 4. Start yanking it out.
Yes, all of this change with this new pavement. They're shifting in all 3 corners now on the entry of those. And they're having to do it at a pretty high RPM because they were telling me they waited to shift whenever they normally would. They're ready to get back to the throttle, so you have to get this shifted away early, and sometimes you don't get that matched up, and those transmissions will just explode.
So the championship leader, for the first time in a long time after the Indianapolis race, in the garage at Pocono with transmission troubles. And we're not halfway through the race. Still in the middle of a cycle of green flag pit stops, Kurt Busch is still the leader. He and David Ragan have not pitted yet. Then the top spot will go back to Jimmie Johnson over Brad Keselowski. Remember that whole long-running cycle story. David Ragan, 34, about to be overtaken for second by Jimmie Johnson.
We really thought that Brad Keselowski may be able to stay in front of Jimmie Johnson because he had about a 3-second lead on Jimmie when he made his pit stop. He had those fresher tires on for a little bit, but shows how fast this 48 has been. Plus the job Jimmie did getting on and off of pit road.
Yeah, I think he gained some time on that exchange with the pit stop and the way he gets on and off pit road.
David Ragan stop. Remember, in this cycle of things, he had just given up second to Jimmie Johnson before coming to pit road. There are so many things going on in this race right now. Between the people on different pit stop cycles, looking forward in the race to the finishing number of laps, and looking forward in the race to the halfway point and at the weather radar. Kurt Busch gives up the lead, Mike.
At the beginning of the run, he was complaining profusely that the car was extremely loose. From the cockpit, he told Nick Harrison the track bar needs to come down. They made that move, and also a 4-tire change on the 51 car as they complete service and are away.
All right, so Jimmie Johnson back to the point as Kurt Busch rejoins the fight. And it'll be Johnson and Keselowski. With the Kyle Busch lap car in between them, there's the gap first to second. Just after making his green flag pit stop from second place, Dale Earnhardt Jr. with mechanical troubles.
Good training. Got you braking? 15 back, 15 back.
Well, I didn't see anything really wrong with the way he was making the
Just stay low there. Broke transmission coming to you guys.
He just laid down.
Yeah, that was actually going from third back to high gear, back to fourth instead of the downshift.
So juniors sidelined early in the going at Pocono. His Hendrick teammate Jimmie Johnson is out in front. The Pennsylvania 400 at Pocono Raceway here on ESPN. Being led by Jimmie Johnson. Check out NASCAR.com/RaceBuddy to watch coverage live from Pocono today. Follow your favorite drivers for free with 8 live camera views. Been an eventful first 57 laps so far. Lead changes, mechanical troubles, pit strategy. Let's check on the mechanical troubles. Mike is in the garage with Dale Jr.
And it wasn't the way his day was going. It was going rather well until transmission problems.
Yeah, we don't have third or fourth gear, so we're going to change the transmission. And you know, just I know the guys in the transmission shop and Hendrick are disappointed. We don't have our brake parts, so we put it in yesterday, and during qualifying it was fine. And when the race started, it was kind of you know, aggressive and a bit of a vibration. Just the car was just really out of time, and it just kind of started missing some shifts and hard, you know, difficult to get into gear and things like that. And finally, on from third to fourth coming out of the tunnel, it didn't have any fourth, and then I went to third, didn't have any third. So it's you know, it's tough. We had a good run going. Diamond Mountain Dew NASCAR Chevrolet was pretty fast. Jimmy's the quickest car out there, but I felt like we might have been able to work on ours and get a little better. We were pretty tight, and I thought we could make it a lot better than we were. So real happy with the speed, and just I'm sorry to all the guys at the shop. Hope one of our cars get a win today and make something out of it.
Thanks for your time.
Yep, thank you.
Guys are still working real hard on this 88 car, trying to get Dale Jr. out there before the end of the race, Al.
21 races of finishing on the lead lap. Longest, tied for longest all-time such streak. That'll stop today for Dale Earnhardt Jr. So after the cycle of pit stops, Jimmie Johnson has a 3.8-second lead on Matt Kenseth, and Brad Keselowski sitting in third. Kasey Kahne fourth, Greg Biffle fifth, Mark Martin sixth. Then a pretty good gap for Martin. Back to the next car, Carl Edwards sitting in seventh position, Vince.
It's been a bit of an issue for Carl today on a day when he needed everything to go perfect. Here's yet another concern.
Double check your fans are on in the front. They are. Copy that. Talk to me. Do I need to be easier on the brake? No, you're okay. I just want to make sure the fans are open. We got a lot of brake dust, but it's not terrible.
We had the temperature issue. We had the contact on pit road. Now a little bit of question on the brakes. Just wonder, for a driver, DJ, is that disconcerting when you know you've got to have a winning performance today?
Yeah, Vince, I'll guarantee you that it is, and simply because of the way their year's gone. It seems like so many crazy things happening to this race team. So you start wondering what's going to go wrong next. So they've already had 2 issues here today, and still a long way to go in this race. But Carl does have a fast car, and he was just wanting to know, too, you know, do I need to ease up on the brake just a little bit? But he came here to charge to the front, and you got to use the brake to do that.
The pole sitter, Kurt Busch, Juan Pablo Montoya, 42, and Kurt Busch, who was leading during the cycle of pit stops a minute ago. You see Mark Martin in. Remember, we've got people on all kind of different pit stop cycles here.
Yeah, that was a scheduled stop for Mark Martin. It's a good battle going on, though, with Montoya and Kurt Busch.
I'm really impressed with Kurt Busch here today. He's taking this car. He said it's one of the newer cars they have from Hendrick Motorsports that they're kind of getting to know and make some changes with. He's done a really good job, and certainly a welcome sight for Montoya, too, to be running competitive here.
Like I said, I talked to Nick Harrison, the crew chief for Kurt Busch, and he was saying that they found something in the latter part of the practice that it was a different kind of package, and they didn't have time to really adjust to it, but it was faster. They were going to start with it and try to adjust the car during the race and see if they could make this package work. Looks like it's doing pretty well.
So we'll continue to follow the rolling strategy. We'll follow the weather, and we'll follow the race for the lead in the Pennsylvania 400 at 150 miles at Pocono Raceway, northeastern Pennsylvania.
Brad
Keselowski making his off-sequence pit stop, lap 64 here at Pocono. There was a track bar adjustment, said he needed some stability in turns 1 and 3. He was a little tight in the tunnel turn. And with weather on the radar, Alan, I wonder how this strategy is going to work out for the 2 bunch today.
We just spent that whole commercial break talking about that up here in the booth with Dale and Andy. And you've got 2 different pit stop schedules going on. You're sitting on that pit box, Andy. You're watching the weather radar. You know the race has got to go past the 80-lap mark to be official. You're wondering whether it will go all the way to the 160 mark to become official, and you're trying to plot it all and make it make sense.
And you know what the problem is that one variable that you'd like to have, like when is this thing going to end? You don't have it.
Yeah.
So it's probably going to be shortened if you're looking at this weather right. But you don't know how short. You don't know where you're racing to. So all you can do is just try to keep your car up front. And I see that the 2 car and the 55 are off sequence, and see how that works for them. Right now, it looks like Keselowski was able to stay on the lead lap by making his pit stop, but Mark was not. You see Mark chasing this 48 now, trying to get back on the lead lap so he can make his strategy work. But it is going to be interesting to see how this works if it does get short.
That was the 93 car of Travis Kvapil. You saw kind of up out of the groove behind Jimmie Johnson in turn 3. He did not hit the wall and has continued on. You see right there. The Fastest Stats brought to you live all race long by the new Sprint Direct Connect, part of the fastest push-to-talk experience. Upgrade to the new Done. Jimmie Johnson, fastest of the pack so far. Leading more laps than anyone else so far today. And the fastest mover, well, that's been Brad Keselowski. Or it was Brad Keselowski. Now it's Jeff Gordon. Since Brad just made that pit stop, Jeff up 22 positions since the start of the race. The Fastest Stats brought to you by the new Sprint Direct Connect. Upgrade to the new Done. Find out more at sprint.com/speed and get done.
That's the thing with this strategy. Everybody is keeping everybody off guard.
That'll teach me for writing something down. Jeff Gordon moving.
I like this kind of race because you have to think, and when you're watching it, you have to kind of think, well, okay, this 24, he's on this strategy, the 2's on that one. Now, how's it going to time out? Dave, how's the 24 going to run this race from here to the end?
We expect him, Andy, on or around lap 80, as the last pit was about 32 laps back from that, so we'll look for him about then. And for Jeff, it's just a matter of staying balanced and staying professional, according to crew chief Alan Gustafson. You know, he said with everything that's been up and down with this bunch this year, he called Jeff really amazing when I talked to him this morning. The fact that he's held it together, he's just helped us work on the race car. We know we've had speed, but we've had a kind of luck here that you just don't want to talk about. And Jeff has been smooth and consistent the whole way for this team.
Now, Gordon, one of those drivers that needs to win at least one of these next 6 races, including today, if he's going to have a shot at competing for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Championship. Dale Jr. just rolling out of the garage and back onto the racetrack.
18 laps, even though it is a big track, that's still pretty good to change the transmission in that amount of time.
Now I'll ask you this, Andy, to explain to people. He said they just put that in before qualifying, so that was since they practiced on Friday, they made a transmission change. Why?
Well, a lot of teams down there, because this is a hard track on transmissions, NASCAR has allowed them one change during the weekend. They can put a fresh transmission, so they don't limit their practice time based on the time that they put on the transmission. NASCAR lets them change it, and that's what they did.
Beginning to see more cars sprinkle onto pit road for stops. Joey Logano's in.
Yeah, Logano says he's free into 1 and free off of 1. Also loose into 2, loose off of 4. Just an air pressure adjustment. They're going to make a 4-tire change. They haven't been able to quite find the proper balance in this race car all weekend long. Still dealing with it here today.
Joey, the winner, back in June. And again, on that list of guys who need to win in that fight for the wild card spots in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup.
Well, we see Mark Martin giving it all he's got here. He was the fastest car on the track last lap, about a 10th quicker than Jimmy, but he's still got a little gap to close up. Denny Hamlin's in, Mike.
Yeah, and he's saying the car is just too free right now. Can't do anything with it. Said the adjustments have so far not made much of a difference on this race car. A 4-tire change right now for the 11 as they still try to improve that car for the 4-time winner here, Denny Hamlin. He's away now. Meanwhile, Paul Menard is on pit road. His car has been snug throughout the course of this race. They just took 4 tires and they're away.
Jimmie Johnson last pitted at lap 47. So 30 and change laps from there. It's going to be at least 6 to 8 more laps before we'll see the race leader on the pit lane.
It's hard to get a smooth shift down. Like the last 8 laps, it just doesn't want to flow. It's worrying me. Copy that, man. Copy that. Stevie just told me they had a separate issue on theirs, but that doesn't mean ours is good or bad. I don't know. If you have to, don't shift and see what that does for you a few laps. You got plenty of room around you.
That's one option they have. They can leave it in high gear, not shift, and then hopefully, if there's a problem, it'll just kind of stay there. It won't get any worse.
If you're not dealing with traffic, that's a great option. But if you happen to catch some traffic in different places, then it's going to slow your lap times down quite a bit. And I don't know that you want to get yourself in that situation right now, but that's better than the alternative.
Well, it's great to say if the transmission breaks, it'll slow your lap times down a lot.
And you heard Kenny Francis, the crew chief for Kasey Kahne, telling him you got plenty of room around you. And I know you're saying, yeah, he was right on the bumper of that car, but he means racing for position. These are lap cars. Kasey is 3 seconds behind Matt Kenseth, and he's about 3 seconds ahead of Greg Biffle, the cars that he'd be racing for that 3rd position. Carl Edwards up to 6th. Remember, Denny Hamlin just stopped on the pit lane. Kyle Busch was flagged for speeding on his pit stop a second ago, and he has not answered or served the penalty yet. So if he doesn't come down pit lane for the penalty this time, NASCAR is going to show him that old black flag with the white cross on it, meaning your car is no longer being scored. Just joining us, Kyle Busch. A left rear tire gone down in turn 1 after a brake rotor. He said exploded or disintegrated, I think was the word Kyle used. He scraped the wall with the right side of that car, and they spent 23 laps behind the walls getting repairs.
We're going to give us a black flag with a white stripe. You got to bring your turn, bud. I know.
I think he wanted to see what kind of car he had. He wanted to see if he could pass Jimmie Johnson.
You know, when they came back out from the garage, I noticed that after pit stop, that he hung on quite well. He was in front of Mark Martin and Brad Keselowski and stayed there for quite a while in front of Matt Kenseth. So, man, that really makes it difficult when you know you have a good car like that.
Yeah, Mark Martin let him slide up in front of him, hoping he'd open the door with Jimmy, maybe get his lap back too.
When you're 23 laps down in a race, you got to do something to amuse yourself.
You have to find something, I'll assure you. Yes, it's especially when you're on a streak of bad luck, you have to do something.
Matt Kenseth running a solid 2nd. And here is Regan Smith along with Kevin Harvick on the pit lane. Mike?
Regan Smith saying the car's a little bit loose in and off of turn 3. They'll make an air pressure adjustment and a 4-tire change. Kevin Harvick on pit road as well. They go to work on the left side. They complete their service there and a 4-tire stop.
Green flag pit stops at lap 74. About 3 to 5 laps from seeing the leader Jimmie Johnson in. Doc?
43 car on pit road. Been a long time since that car's been to victory lane. Major chassis adjustment. The car a little bit tight on entry. Left side tires, also air pressure adjustment as well for Eric Almirola. Top it off with Sunoco fuel. Mike?
Clint Bowyer saying the car's been loose just throughout the course of the race. Still trying to race the racetrack pretty much. He just doesn't have as much control over that machine as he would like. The team looking for a 4-tire change here on the 15. Also an air pressure adjustment, trying to help Clint Bowyer out so that he has just a better handle on what he's driving right now. Jeff Burton on pit road as well, and they'll go to work on the 31 machine as he comes to a complete stop. Right side work there. Also an air pressure adjustment, trying to help Jeff Burton turn a little bit. A 4-tire change here as we get closer to the halfway mark, Alan.
Greg Biffle pitting. And just noticing on Jimmie Johnson, by the way, a little bit of trash on the grill of that 48 car. But he is close to his pit window, so hopefully not a problem for Jimmie Johnson and his fans before they get to pit road. Here's Biff in, Doc.
Said the car's getting a little bit loose in turn 1, AB, and they've also told told Greg they don't think the rain will be here until about lap 100 or so. Right side tires on, left side tires, a little air pressure change to get the car to turn better in the corner. Smith.
Martin Truex Jr. in that 56, he says we're real close on the setup. Still sliding the rear a little bit, but we're good. tires and an air pressure adjustment.
Marcos Ambrose saying he's sliding the nose. He'll try to make an adjustment on that race car. 4-tire change, he's away.
Leader Jimmie Johnson hits his pit and hits the marks perfectly. It'll be a 4-tire change. There will be a chassis adjustment. He said the car's on top of the track. This is a wedge adjustment in the left rear, on top of the track and not good on the throttle. Little air pressure as well. A 4-tire change for Johnson, who dominated. They made no mistakes last week, and it's looking real similar today.
39 car, Ryan Newman coming in. They've made the call. Tony Gibson said wedge left rear. Ryan said the car has been free and remains way too free. Air in the left rear, air pressure adjustment. Right side tires, now left side tires going on. There goes the wedge in the left rear to try to tighten up the car. Meanwhile, as he gets ready to drop off the jack, here comes the 14, his teammate. That is Tony Stewart. And Tony, 4 tires, fuel for Tony. Car pretty neutral. A little bit tight again across the tunnel.
Kasey Kahne, a former winner here, and he's been one of the best cars here all day as well. They've got a problem on the right front. They had to lower the jack down, back it across. It looked like it was on the hose. Now they got to go back up on the jack. These are the problems you cannot have when track position is so critical. It's a 4-tire change, just an air pressure adjustment. Dave?
Jeff Gordon had raced his way into the 5th position. They've already made a chassis adjustment, a 4-tire change, air pressure as well. For Jeff, he said, right now when I get back to the throttle, I have to wait on it because the front end shoves. He hopes his team has fixed that. Doc?
Here is Sam Hornish in a 22 car. Sam said the car has been a bit of a challenge today. Still tight in the corner. Right front air pressure change last time. Going to go a little more this time. 4 tires. Going to get it completely full of Sunoco fuel. Mike, how about Matt Kenseth?
Matt Kenseth saying he's loose off, tight middle to make an air pressure adjustment to the right front and 4 tires. He's away.
So with the exception of Kurt Busch, it's going to bring us around. I'll call it a complete cycle of pit stops, but remember, we've got people all out of kilter and on different schedules with each other as Jimmie Johnson goes by the accelerating Matt Kenseth and back into the #1 spot. Halfway coming up here at the Pennsylvania 400. Clouds growing on the horizon too.
Just past halfway at Pocono with the 5-hour energy rapid recap. If you're looking for a strong team, how about Hendrick Motorsports?
Yeah, we talked about how strong those engines were going to be. It was going to be a battle of the big engine suppliers, you know, Hendrick and then the Roush Yates Fords. But we also talked about the problem of durability. These guys are shifting. Sure enough, our point leader, Dale Jr., breaks the transmissions, had to go in the pits and change it.
17 laps led for Junior. He's fallen, at least to this point, to 4th in points, which puts Matt Kenseth back out front. Jimmie Johnson continues to be very good.
Oh, yeah, it wasn't too far in the race. We said, here he is. He took the lead. He's up front. His lap time's been fastest as we're speaking right now. He's still the fastest car on the racetrack. Johnson is flying.
And poor Kyle Busch, if it wasn't for bad luck, he wouldn't have no luck at all. Cuts down a left rear tire, gets it into the fence, goes behind the wall, comes back out. He's all the way back. He's 23 laps down. Just a terrible day again.
Comes back out and then gets caught speeding. So up front with more than a 3-second lead, it is the 48 car of Jimmie Johnson.
If you can, let's start to conserve a little bit of fuel, 10-4. That's what I've been doing. We're about 15 miles out on a hell of a rainstorm.
Ah, the dreaded words at Pocono, save me some fuel. Keep in mind, Jimmie Johnson is on an alternate strategy from Brad Keselowski, and like they said, rain is on the way.
And the great thing about it, I mean, you look at Matt Kenseth, he has got a stout race car, but he's 3.5 seconds behind Jimmie Johnson, who's starting to coast just a little bit to save a little bit of fuel. I think he's got plenty of room to do so, Ray.
He does, and sitting there in 3rd is Brad Keselowski. He and his crew chief, Paul Wolfe, come up with this strategy. It almost worked for him last week at Indianapolis, and they're doing the same thing today. They're out of sequence with that rain coming. Who knows what can happen here?
And, of course, Greg Biffle, Roush Fenway Racing, you were looking at them earlier. Another powerhouse engine.
Yeah, I tell you, Greg Biffle's doing a fine job right now. His lap times are top 3 in speeds right now. His 3M Ford Fusion just flat flying. Another guy not having any problem whatsoever. Looks like Matt Kenseth and Greg Biffle are really strong today and looking right good, to tell you the truth. I mean, I'm really impressed with the way those Fords are running today, Brad.
Yeah, they've done a good job.
Let's get up to speed with the other guys, starting with Mike Massaro. And this guy, Mark Martin, has finished second here an awful lot.
Yeah, 7 times in his career, but has never found victory lane. Was hoping that would change this afternoon. Has a pretty good race car, and his crew chief Rodney Childers was hoping that their pit strategy would work out, trying to play the weather. They've been pitting off sequence, but looking at the radar, they estimate they'll be about 10 minutes too early. They'll have to stop at a lap 90, looking for a 2-tire change. Vince?
Well, the 5-car of Kasey Kahne. Kasey beating himself up a little bit on that last pit stop. He overshot his marks, ran over the hose, costing himself some serious track position. Kahne on the radio apologized, but crew chief Kenny Francis pumped him up, said, rain is coming. We got to focus and start digging. Let's go to Dave.
Vince, remember where Jeff Gordon started the race? 27th position, so they had to pass cars. They used a 2-tire stop on the initial caution to gain some track position. The car is pretty quick. As we know, Jeff Gordon coming into today, 15th in the points, has either got to move way up or he's got to get some wins if he's going to make the chase. Vince?
Carl Edwards, another one of those guys desperately needing a win to make the chase. He's won here a couple of times and felt like they had the car bringing here today to get it done again, but so far they've just been fighting loose all day long. They've also dodged a couple of other bullets. We've got a crash. We've got a crash. It's Kurt Busch.
Kurt Busch having a solid day until now, Alan.
Hard crash for Kurt, who had just come off the pit lane after a green flag stop. You heard the diagnosis.
Yeah, left front. They just changed 2 tires on that stop.
Yeah, I might want to go back and see if maybe he slid that left front getting on the pit road.
He was running 21st at the time.
Well, that's a hard crash.
Yeah.
Or destroyed.
So you see Kurt's already hung his helmet on the hook inside the car. And the steering wheel up on the dash. And the window net comes down. Watch the right side of your screen here.
Yeah, it's hard to tell from that exactly what happened, but he was definitely out of shape when he got there.
Yeah, you could see that looked like something definitely happened as he got down in the car, just turned sideways and then hard into the wall. Carrying a lot of speed over that tunnel turn and not much time to get things woed down.
All right, so let's wrap a couple of things up here before the pit road is open. Different pit schedules people have been on. Some need to pit sooner, some just were on pit road under the green. We're past halfway. There is a large blob of rain on the radar. If you're Brad Keselowski, you pit?
I almost have to. I don't know how far he can go. He almost has to make a pit stop here, but if you're sitting looking at the radar and you think it's minutes away, I mean, this is tough. This is a tough call right here.
Jimmie Johnson just off the pit lane a little bit ago. The race leader, as you see Kurt Busch walking away from that very mangled race car. And let's see what happens here.
Here comes Mark. Mark is going to make a pit stop, and Keselowski stays out. He's gambling.
Mark giving up 5th spot, Mike.
Yeah, and as we mentioned, they were hoping that the weather would have gotten here just a little bit earlier than it has. They're forced to hit pit road earlier than they would like. They'll make a 4-tire change. They were contemplating a 2-tire change, but have decided to change that. 4 tires for Mark Martin. The 1 car, Jamie McMurray, also in. They'll complete a 4-tire change there as well. McMurray has not been happy with his race car all day. They'll also make an air pressure adjustment, trying to free that up just a little bit.
9 cars pit out of the 22 that are on the lead lap. The plot thickens, as do the clouds here at the Pennsylvania 400. ESPN's coverage of Major League Baseball continues tonight and tomorrow. First tonight on baseball's biggest stage, Ryan Braun and the Brewers look to make up ground in the NL Central when they face Matt Holliday and the Cardinals at 8. Then tomorrow night, Derek Jeter and the AL East leading Yankees head to Comerica Park to take on Prince Fielder and the Tigers at 7. Sports Center to be seen in New York. Sunday Night Baseball presented by Taco Bell. Monday Night Baseball presented by USAA. Getting ready to restart, but for how long is the question, as that radar shows us. Dave?
And Chad Knaus checking with engineer Greg Ives right now. Chad, we all see the weather all around us. You see the radar. What's Jimmy's job on what might be a wild restart here?
Well, obviously the Lowe's Chevrolet's been running really well today. Couldn't be prouder of the way the guys have performed and what Jimmy's done. We just need to go out there. We're playing the weather card just like everybody else is. If we can get out there and try to maintain the lead, you know, hopefully we have a shot at this thing. I'd like to say hi to Mr. H. He's not here with us today. Hopefully he's proud of what's going on. Hendrick cars are running great. It's unfortunate the 88 had that issue, but we'll get that sorted out.
Mr. H, are going to try to maintain from first. They hold the cards right now. Vince?
Well, in the 5 box with crew chief Kenny Francis, certainly keeping an eye on the weather here as well. But what about the transmission? We saw Junior go out with a transmission. It seemed like Casey was maybe having some shifting issues. What's the update there?
Yeah, we think the transmission's okay. We found out what was wrong with Junior's and feel like ours is okay. He was, I think he was just feeling some ghosts or something there when he saw Junior have trouble. So hopefully all that's okay. You know, the Farmer's Chevy's been running really good. Hopefully we can get a good restart here. We struggled a bit on restarts today, but other than that, the car's been really fast. We fortunate to get that caution to get called back up after that little incident in the pits there, so we're kind of glad to see that. But looks like the rain's close, so you know, hopefully our fuel will hold out till before, you know, till after it rains.
Thanks, Kenny. Al?
All right, as we get set for the restart, let's talk about a couple things. The race is scheduled for 160 laps. Just because it's going to rain, and it's going to rain, that doesn't mean the race is over. It's daylight here till about 8:12. If the rain passes, they could get the track dry and restart.
But they'll be racing like it's going to end.
Yeah.
I promise you, they're going to race like it's going to end any second on this restart.
Yeah, even though they saw it get dry in about an hour and a half or so after that last rainstorm before this race ever got started, they're assuming this is going to be it. And that's how you have to race right now. And we're going to see these drivers give everything they've got to try to take that top spot.
Jimmy Johnson and Matt Kenseth, side by side on the front row. Brad Keselowski and Greg Biffle, Kasey Kahne and Jeff Gordon. Remember, this long straightaway and that big, crazy turn 1 on restarts at Pocono.
Oh, Jimmy!
Trouble! Kenseth in the wall, Biffle in the wall. Kenseth spins into the pack. Denny Hamlin.
Was wondering, going down in that corner, how close was Kenseth going to try to get over onto Jimmy Johnson to try to take advantage, get him a little bit free. Johnson got extremely loose. Denny Hamlin with the worst of this and just an innocent bystander.
So the race for the lead into turn 1. I believe the word I used just before the restart was crazy turn 1.
Yeah, crazy. And we knew they were going to be racing like it was the last lap.
Yeah,
and it may have been, because I don't know that we'll get back under green.
And who was leading when the caution came out here? Jeff Gordon's the one that's out front right now, but we'll have to see about this.
And yes, the leader is Jeff Gordon.
Wow, are his fortunes turning here?
Wow, how big would that be? Race isn't over yet. Here's what happened. Heading off into turn 1.
Jimmy got a great restart. I thought he was going to be able to get well out in front of Kenseth.
Yeah, but Kenseth got over on his quarter pound for just a second. You see Jimmy try to get away, but Kenseth had a good restart. Jimmy just got loose before he got down in there. He was just trying to drive it off in the corner and make sure that he got ahead. But he just got loose.
That's so reminiscent of what we saw at Indianapolis last Sunday. Remember, off of turn 2, the guy on the bottom getting loose under the guy up front, and the guy who's running behind them ducks low and takes the lead.
Jeff Gordon said, "Thank you very much."
It worked to Jimmy Johnson's benefit last Sunday at Indy, to his detriment here at Pocono today.
Well, Keselowski, he's out of control trying to avoid him. Kenseth comes straight across the racetrack.
Still outside. Tight. Clear low. Outside. Clear high. Inside. Caution. Save gas. There was a wreck behind you. There's a wreck behind.
Plus Jimmy Johnson's hands is against down in the corner.
just took me out. I mean, we went in there close, side by side, racing for the win, and just wrecked me, so sorry. Don't apologize.
And Denny Hamlin just nowhere to go.
It's been 2 weeks in a row for Matt Kenseth. Indy last week and now this.
Yeah, that's got to be discouraging because he's had great cars in both races. This had to be a really fun ride for Denny Hamlin.
Watch it, watch it. Roll the middle here, inside, inside, inside.
You don't even have time to react and get any brake to slow down there. Good to see Denny okay inside the car.
Looking around saying, is anybody going to hit me now?
Yeah, physically okay. That's bad.
So caution out, mayhem on the restart, and through it all, Jeff Gordon comes out with the lead.
There's a lot of
Kane comes out second. Sorry, Andy.
Yeah, there's a lot of cars that we just really don't know where they're going to line up. You see the 2 car lined up about 4th. The way I saw it, he's going to be about 9th. I think he's going to be behind the 99 of.
How long can he stay out there anyway?
That's the other thing.
He has to be getting somewhere close to being out of fuel. These caution laps have helped him.
So NASCAR, when the caution flag comes out at the moment of caution, the scoring loops that they have and the timing and scoring computers freeze the field essentially, going back to the last scoring loop that the cars crossed over, and then they go back and look at the accident cars and use the video replays and so on to make sure they have everyone in the proper position at the moment of caution. And it will be double checked to make sure that everybody's where they belong.
I'm sure it's busy in race control right now trying to sort all that out.
They are saying that it's going to be, well, I'm going to wait for just a second. I was going to tell you where I thought they're putting Jimmie Johnson, but I'm going to wait till I confirm that. I believe it's going to be back around 15th or 16th or so.
Yeah, he got going. I mean, after they make contact, he's able to get back up to speed and maintain speed.
And I believe Greg Biffle is going to get put back a little bit from where he's currently riding in line also.
You gotta be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. I'm avoiding an accident, and they put me to the back, and the 48 gets his spot back? Seriously?
Sounds like he's got a question about it.
Jimmy's not getting his spot back. The call is 20-48-16. So it's going to be Logano, Johnson, then Biffle, and that'll be 13th, 14th, and 15th in line.
Well, NASCAR's still has some more things to sort out, I'm sure, here. Greg Biffle is not going to be very happy with where they put him, I'm quite certain. A lot of cleanup to get done over there, and they don't want to get it done in a hurry because there is rain coming.
Yeah, they're working as hard as they can, but
what's this always like as a crew chief and trying to talk to those officials?
Yeah, you kind of state your case, and then hopefully they rule in your favor. If they don't, you can't change their mind, I promise you.
So we're under caution for the 3rd time. The rain is still closing, and now Jeff Gordon is leading here at Pocono. Back at Pocono Raceway with all kinds of stuff going on in the Pennsylvania 400 after a restart that came with rain closing in, pit strategy being played, a crash among the leaders in turn 1, now somebody else out in front, one of the contenders with a flat tire, but staying out on the racetrack because they think it's going to rain before the race restarts.
I got a flat right rear. If you can still run, stay out. If you can still go, stay out. We'll stay out till 1 to go unless it just shreds the tire right off of it.
Kenny Francis and Casey Kane.
The rain's that close. I mean, it's right at the edge of the property.
Running second. So Jeff Gordon leading. We saw just before we went to the commercial the discussion over where Greg Biffle should be placed in line. He is 15th, right behind Jimmie Johnson, who's 14th. There's the Biff.
On the high side as they go down in. Running in 4th right here. See the contact with the 48-17. Biffle into the wall.
And remember all the rules about you've got to maintain your speed and all that. And there they are. Falling in right behind Joey Logano. Doc?
Well, you heard the frustration from Greg Biffle, and with the weather moving in, Matt Pusha, you've been trying to talk to the NASCAR official. Make your case. What are you telling him?
The caution come out, as long as you maintain your speed, you're supposed to get your position back or go back to last scoring loop. When the caution came out, we were in front of the 78 there, right there with the 78 at worst case scenario. But they're saying we didn't maintain speed, so we'll see what we got here. Rain's on top of us here, so probably be only a lap or two if they get back green before they call this thing. So once the rain gets here, I think we're done. So see what we got.
All right, Matt Pusha very frustrated, but right now Greg Biffle will stay back and restart in 15th spot.
Yeah, the only problem with that argument is if that's the case, then Jimmie Johnson still has the lead because he didn't stop. He just kept going.
Brad Keselowski didn't pit under the prior caution, Dave, and are they watching the fuel flow?
Yeah, and the weather. They're thinking it's going to get wet before he goes dry. So they last pitted on lap 64. And you see him shutting the engine off, turning it back on, saving fuel. He can go another 7 or 8 under caution as of lap 95. So that's 102 or 103. But as you mentioned, man, that rain is on top of us. So that's kind of what they're counting on.
And remember, he's got to maintain pace with the car in front of him in the caution line when he's shutting it off to save fuel.
And Casey Kane's still going around on that flat tire. He probably ran over something as they went back through the accident scene. And very unfortunate for them. Could turn out to be okay. We'll see what happens. Andy, I've been up here and thought it was going to rain too, and it just never did for a little bit.
And I've been here when you didn't think it was going to rain hard.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about Jeff Gordon earlier, about how much they need a win, how much bad luck they've had this year, how well they've been running in recent weeks. I don't think this would be the way they expected to get a win, but
they'll take it.
It all counts. If, and I'll capital letter, underline, and put in bold, if the race ends here.
I think they said it's raining now. And that's not saying that if it does rain here, that we won't get restarted at some point in time. So you have to worry about that. But if Jeff Gordon should get this win, how about next week at Watkins Glen, as great a record as he has there, and trying to get that second victory that he knows is pretty much going to take to get him in the chase?
It would not be the first time. And there you see the raindrops as Alan Gustafson puts the notes under cover. Wouldn't be the first time that Jeff Gordon won a race here that was shortened by rain. How about June of 2007 here at this race, where they played some really neat strategy to find a way to be in front when it counted the most. And the race never got back going after the weather hit, and Gordon wound up taking home the win.
That was Steve Letarte that engineered that magic.
Well, circumstances playing to Jeff's favor this time. Good race car, we documented that. Moved up smartly all race long and was in the top 5 when things happen in front of him.
Yeah, here's the other thing. If it goes back green, he's still got probably the best car in the race right now.
Yeah, that was the thing. We really hadn't seen just how good he was. We knew he was good because he drove his way up inside the top 10, but we hadn't had a caution to really bunch it up so he could show how much he could run with the guys that had been leading.
So rain starting to fall here at the racetrack. We've been talking about it for a while. We've seen it closing on the racetrack for some time. There is going to be daylight here until pretty close to 8 o'clock Eastern time tonight. So we'll see how long NASCAR waits. But remember, once this racetrack gets really soaked,
good drench in here, bud.
it's going to take a good hour and a half to 2 hours to dry it once the rain stops. So the circumstances that change the picture of this race: a restart at lap 91. Jimmie Johnson and Matt Kenseth racing for the lead. The first four cars all tangle up. And what do you know? Jeff Gordon ends up out in front. Moved up 26 positions since the start of the race. Today's Goodyear Superior performer, Jeff Gordon. Out in front when it might count the most.
Yeah, one guy we had talked to, Martin Truex Jr., who's inside that top 10 in the point standings right now, was really needing a solid effort here today. He was able to avoid all of that mayhem down there and got himself in the 3rd spot. Tony Stewart up in the 5th spot here.
And word from NASCAR is that they will bring the cars down the pit lane this time. Shut them down and cover them up. 5 times Jeff Gordon has won a race shortened by rain.
I would be willing to bet that at least the top 4 right now would say, I'll take what I've got here in in this, and let's not go back racing.
I'll go back one more. I'll go back to fifth. I bet Smoke will say it too.
All right, we will hear from but not see for the moment Jeff Gordon's crew chief, Alan Gustafson. Dave?
Whose birthday it is today? Are you willing to claim any of these gifts yet?
No, not yet, but certainly is a nice position to be in, right? So, no, I mean, it's not going to be over till it's over, but either way, you know, we had a really good drive-in Hungry Chevrolet, and Jeff did a great job, and we knew that restart was going to be key. Obviously, everybody did, and Jeff got a great restart, and those guys had a little bit of an issue, and maybe, don't want to be premature, but maybe we might catch a break here.
How about the way he drove through that and missed it?
I mean, I think the run was key. Obviously, he was outside of Casey. I think Casey's car was a little better than ours at that time because we kind of came off pit road together. So him getting that restart and getting past Casey, and then the seas parted. So it just went our way. Like I said, I don't want to count our chickens before they hatch, but either way, it's a great position to be in, and really proud of the guys for battling through some tough situations to get in this position.
Remember, they currently hold the top spot, and we've talked all day about the luck they've had so far. Perhaps the wind has blown in their direction today, Alan.
We'll see. Cars being covered up. Still 61 laps to go. And the reason we didn't see Alan Gustafson there is because there is some lightning being reported in the area. And for safety, those cameras that cover pit road that have the big handheld antennas on them, we sent those guys for some cover.
Back at Pocono, let's see how our drivers are doing in AT&T's Fastest Driver Challenge. And it looks like out of the top 4 qualifiers for this race, Kasey Kahne is leading the path. Remember to text FAST to 34763 to play AT&T's Fastest Driver Challenge, or visit attfastestdriver.com. You could have the chance to win 4Gs just by playing. From a 4G, how about to JG, because we are 98 laps in at Pocono, where once again it is raining, and JG, Jeff Gordon, is out front. Dr. Jerry Punch caught up with him. Once again, you will hear from him. We won't actually see him because we had to send our camera guys with those antennas for cover because it is raining and lightning in the area. Doc?
Oh, we talked this morning before we talked on the air. Jeff and I were just visiting, and you said we had a lifetime's worth of bad luck in 1 year. And when is your luck going to change? Maybe today's the day.
Well, you know, it's never over till it's over. We've won races like this here before, and man, I tell you what, the way our year's gone, we'll definitely take it like this. Man, I've never seen the seas part quite like that before, like they did going down to 1. I got a great restart and was able to dive to the inside in front of Casey, and I saw the 48 get sideways, and that just took them all out, and I was like, wow. And then, you know, I was thinking about the restart, what we were going to do. Didn't want to have the same thing happen to us. It happened to 48, and started raining, and I tell you what, all the things that have gone wrong for us this year, I'm hoping this is the one that makes up for it all.
And if we do go back green, you got a pretty good race car.
We do. Either way, you know, we're in great shape. You know, I mean, we're good on fuel, we're good on tires, and we got a great race car. So, in clean air, we haven't even been in clean air, so we don't even know how good it might even be better out there in front.
Jeff Gordon trying to get a win, and it would be his 86th career win, still 3rd all-time in NASCAR history. Nicole?
Right now, I think he's thanking Mother Nature. This is the scene at Pocono. You can obviously see the rain, but how about the lightning in the area? Yeah. That's why we don't have our cameras out there, and we've sent our camera guys for cover. So we'll come inside the ESPN pit studio where you get the pleasure of looking at the 4 of us, Ray Evernham, Rusty Wallace, and Brad Doherty. The way that the point situation has gone all day has truly been amazing to watch how fluid it is as they run. There was a point earlier in the day when Matt Kenseth was the points leader because Dale Earnhardt Jr. had gone out. And right now, Jr. is back out in front as they run right now. But I want to point this out. Jeff Gordon, if all goes as it runs right now, the current second wild card is Jeff Gordon. And here's why. Tie goes to, we were joking, the runner, but the tie, he's tied in points with Ryan Newman, but Jeff has more 5th place finishes. That's how far down they have to go to figure out who gets the second wild card.
Right, top 5s. His consistency is going well. And we said just a couple weeks ago that we could be having a total different conversation about Jeff Gordon. He runs through this stretch of races very well. Whether it rains or not, he's got a good car. He moved that thing from the back of the pack to the front, could definitely win this race, but this conversation, as we said, the conversation could be change in a week or so, and it has.
Well, and it has, but I still want to see more consistent. I want to see Jeff Gordon. They have to perform going from here, even if they get the victory today based upon it being rained out. I still haven't seen the performance. I still want more, and I still think there's a hole there.
I think the thing is just amazing right now, the turn of events we've had here right now. The 88 car loses the transmission today. We think he's out. Matt Kenseth is in a horrible crash. We think he's out. Now, the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. is back up leading this thing, and Matt Kenseth is up in second in the points right now, like you alluded to earlier. I just cannot believe what I saw here today. I've seen some really fast cars, but I've seen some crazy events, and for those two, the 88 to 17 to be back up, it just blows me away.
So if we've seen all of that in the first 98 laps, imagine what would happen, what we would see if we saw the final 62 laps at Pocono.
I want to see it.
Here's the points as they run right now. Dale Earnhardt Jr. would be out front. That would be your top 10 as we run right now. 62 to go in Pocono. Will it stay the same, or will we be rained out? We'll find out when we come back.
We are back live at Pocono Raceway after the Pennsylvania 400 has been declared official, just shy of the 250-mile mark. 245 to be specific, and Jeff Gordon is going to pick up his first win of this season and his now all-time leading 6th here at Pocono Raceway. He has got the tricky triangle pretty well figured out.
Yeah, no doubt about that. He's won it in a lot of different ways, but probably none bigger than today.
Now, victory lane in a rain situation like this is done in an alternate manner instead of outside. They do it under the cover of one of the garage areas, and because of the lightning and so on, our technical crew is getting the hardwired cameras there instead of the wireless cameras with those big antennas that someone has to hold. Not a good idea right now, so we'll have victory lane, and we'll hear more from Jeff Gordon very shortly. Final thought on all you saw today.
Well, an exciting race, a lot of different things happening, but probably the biggest thing is Jeff Gordon going from knowing that he's got to win a couple of races or thinking that, to now he's in that wild card spot. So just how quickly things can change. These next 5 are just going to be simply fun and amazing to watch.
He's still going to have to win another one, in my opinion, to make the chase, but he's got great speed. Hendrick Motorsports has found something, and we saw that today. We saw it with Jimmy. We saw it with Casey, and we saw it with Junior. All of these cars are fast, and I think that's what they've got to hang their hat on going forward. They're probably looking for that next win.
I know it sounds silly, but before you can win the second one, you got to win the first one. Right. And Jeff Gordon has gotten that first win today. Kasey Kahne, I know our post-race coverage today is going to be a little haphazard because of the weather and the circumstances and the conditions, but Kasey Kahne has been kind enough to join us in the ESPN pit studio. He's going to come away from this with a runner-up finish today. We'll talk with Kasey about the wild finish and getting to what was the checkered flag with a flat tire in just a moment or so. And from here we move on to Watkins Glen in the road course, where Jeff Gordon and so many others have been so good. That'll be a fun race next Sunday. On to Michigan after that. New pavement there, high speeds. Then the short track at Bristol, Atlanta, where Gordon won a year ago. The race to the chase. Join us at the...
Riding out the thunderstorm at Pocono, rain-shortened race. Kasey Kahne held on to finish second. Here's part of his day. Pit issues early on. One, because it was just tight quarters on pit road. The other, because there was a tire on the hose.
Yeah, left front tire got caught on the air hose, cut off the flow, then it pushed the car back. Really cost Kasey a lot of time, and the pit's right there, but they recovered really good. Had a good run throughout the day for him.
And then he was at the right place at the right time on this restart.
He was absolutely in the right place. See Jimmy Johnson get a little loose, get into Matt Kenseth, takes out the top 2 cars, the 2 leaders, and Kasey ducks to the bottom side, scoots right through.
Doesn't come away unscathed, though. Picked up a little bit of debris, got a right rear flat, but managed to turn that into a great finish anyway.
And as you can see, Kasey Kahne is with us in the pit studio. Not exactly the day you had planned for, but what does this do for your team, considering how well 3 of the 4 cars did?
Well, the Hendrick Motorsports cars were really fast. The engines ran great. It was a solid day for all the cars. And Dale had a problem, but you know, I screwed up on the pits. I slid through a little bit and got on top of the hose. So the guy, you know, we couldn't use the air hose there. Slowed us up. Lost a lot of track position there. As far as positions, I think 1 or 2, but a lot of time. And after that, we were able to get back through on that restart. Jeff got a great restart, which was awesome for him and the 524 shop.
You guys, Hendrick was strong as a group. All the Hendrick cars ran good. We talked about the battle of the motor builders. Looked like all those cars were handling on the straightaway today. Good power?
Really good power. It's been great all year long, and I could really feel it today. we were getting off the corner really well and down the straightaway, so it was pretty solid.
New package or stuff you've been running?
Pretty sure it's the same thing. Nobody said anything to me, so I'd imagine it was the same.
You know, we heard Crew Chief Kenny Francis come on and talk to you about shifting. You were having some issues shifting, and he said, just, run a couple laps and don't shift the race car. We noticed your lap times at one time. You ran consistently about 6, 7, 8 laps. You were just blistering the field. So I'm wondering if Ray kept mentioning, is he shifting? Is he not shifting? Did you get quicker when you weren't shifting?
Actually, I slowed down.
Okay.
And then they said that what happened with Dale's car was nothing that could be going on with mine. So then I actually felt good about it, and I figured the shifting out again and just got confident with it. So once I did that, I started shifting again and felt really good. That's when the lap times were good. Our final stop here, we came out of the pits, and Jeff was behind me, and we were running awesome lap times. It was really fast. So I felt good about where we were. I just got too far behind. I'm a little upset with myself how I ran the race and things, but we definitely had a great Farmers Insurance Chevrolet and ended up with a pretty solid finish.
Casey, I talked to Jimmy Johnson in Indianapolis, and he told me that Kenny Francis and yourself have really been contributing to Hendrick Motorsports, the setups, and he really thinks that your team has really brought the whole team up and really helped them. It's obvious that these guys are all getting along, and you look at the finishes that Hendrick Motorsports has had. Can you really feel that inside yourself? Is there a lot of conversation on a daily basis going on with all these teams?
Well, it's good to hear Jimmy say that, because I feel like Kenny has brought a lot to the table, and Keith, our engineer. So it's really good. I'm glad Hendrick Motorsports brought us over there, because it's a strong place. But to put the things that they know with everything that Hendrick always does, and that Chad and Alan and Stevie are doing with their cars, it's just been a huge team effort, and it's nice to be part of that. But yeah, we do a little bit of what Jimmy's doing, and they try stuff, and it's worked out really well. Today we ran, kind of half of maybe what Jimmy's been doing, and it worked really well for us, than the other half of what we've been doing.
Casey, thanks for joining us in the pit studio outside of the rain. Casey is 11th in points, 57 out of 10th, but the number 1 wild card, the number 2 wild card is standing by in Pennzoil Victory Lane.
Thanks.
He was already out of the car, so it was just enter stage left or stage right. We really didn't know. Have you ever seen anything like this to put yourself back closer to making the chase, Jeff?
I mean, you can't ever give up. Doesn't matter where you're at. You got to just try to go out there and win races. And for all the things that have gone wrong for us this year, I still can't believe what just happened. But I think this is the one that makes up for all the ones that have gotten away. And, I'm just so proud of this team. They just never gave up. And they gave me a great race car today. I mean, to start 27, they only have 1 caution. And, work our way all the way up there like that. It was pretty awesome, and got a great restart and got into that inside lane ahead of Casey. And then I saw the 48 get sideways, and I don't know, somehow I just came out on the other end of it leading. So, God, I'm just so excited right now. I know that you don't want to win them quite like this, but we've earned it because of all the things that we've done this year. We've been in position to win races, and we are at the right place at the right time. Finally had something go our way, and I just can't thank Drive In Hunger and DuPont and Pepsi and Quaker State, Chevrolet, everybody. This is a great moment, and I've got both of my kids and my wife here, and that is...
And they're dry.
I don't know how they're dry. They're the only ones here that are dry, and this is like the greatest moment ever having them here.
Jeff, one more time, as you celebrate, tell us, and this, by the way, is let's get everybody in here. This is awesome. Jeff, what it means to you to have this 6th and now leading victory at Pocono with everybody here to see it.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, it's just an amazing day. I said to Alan Gustafson, miracles do happen because, you start to lose confidence and doubt in whether it's going to happen. Our cars have been good. Our team has been good. And, we just need some things to go our way. And boy, did they go our way today. I mean, I hate those guys, got caught up in a spin and wreck, whatever happened there. It was slick on those restarts. But I got to say hi to Rick Hendrick. I know he's not here. And now, we had a lot of pressure on us. All 4 Hendrick cars finally getting to victory lane in 1 year. That's awesome. That's been a long time coming, and I was feeling a lot of pressure because we hadn't done it yet. So this feels good, and this is that little boost that we need to go through these next 5 races and don't count us out. Don't count us out. This is a great moment. We needed this, and it's awesome. Feels good, and we'll take it any way we can get it right now, and we're having a blast. And I'm gonna enjoy it so much with these guys. And happy birthday to Alan Gustafson. That is a birthday present right there.
Candles, cake, the whole thing. You got the icing too, Nicole.
By the way, Jeff Gordon turned 41 yesterday, so a win for him today and another top 5 for Brad Keselowski as we take a look at the unofficial results.
Oh, yeah. Take a look at Tony Stewart. He was way in the back, moved up to 5th place. And Carl Edwards, really concerned about Carl, 7th place.
Yeah, absolutely. A good day also. You know, Jimmy Johnson struggled a little bit at the end there, sliding on the restart, but you saw a strong race car for that 48.
Yeah, you look some of the guys that really had trouble looking in the back at Kurt Busch, guys like that could have had a good finish, gotten a hard wreck.
Matt Kenseth, too, finishes 23rd.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. went out early with that transmission issue. He finished 32nd, but as we leave here today, he still leads the points. And there are your final 3. Racing continues in the Northeast as we head to the Finger Lakes NASCAR Nationwide Series at Watkins Glen on Saturday. Of course, we are back Sunday on ESPN. Coming up next, Sports Center. Once again, congratulations to Jeff Gordon, career win number 86. We'll see you next week.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.